I'm just like always like really just like
It's the
all
kids, you
like
guys.
stuff. Hey. And so I would
You
be
want
like,
something?
I gotta have my own whatever. So first I wanted like a
Yeah.
business.
You gonna be alright.
And then I
Yeah.
didn't end up getting that business.
I know.
But I was like, I need to get my own business. So I ended up losing that job. That was the first time it happened. So I
You gonna
ended
cook
up
something to eat and
like
go finish that homework?
doing some different stuff in the community, exploring like different things. I did some campaign work. I even was out there with Lysandra a little bit. And then I decided I want to do community work. And then I got to a point where I was like in the in between, and I was like, I don't want to keep trying to figure out whatever. It'll be easier to just have something where it's something guaranteed every 2 weeks. I'm gonna be an organizer, and then people will be like, oh, this job is open, that job is open. So I ended up getting a real good opportunity, I thought. So it was real good. It turned out real good. It was sweet, good, place, good setting. I mean, I was able to really, really, serve my purpose and do my job. Me and Lysandra was just talking about when you have a passion for stuff sometimes and you got a job to do something, how sometimes it's the intersect and it conflicts and sometimes it don't. Well, this was a time where it didn't. So everything was going real smooth. And I had got to the point where I was like, I think I'm too complacent with this job that I got off my purpose, right? Because we get comfortable, we get, the checks coming in, we get a certain way or whatever. So I was like, I know I need to, focus back on my purpose. I need to get back to my Peace Garden stuff and, get on that. So I was like, I'm going to get myself together and I'm going to leave in a year, right? So a year came, right? I was still at this place. It turned into the job from hell, y'all. It turned into the job from hell. The people who I work with, who I like they left. It was just terrible. It was the job from hell. I fucking hated that job. And so it ended bad, right? This the second time. So I was like, okay, I lost that job. I need to get back on my purpose. Everything happened for a reason. That happened so that I could get back on my purpose, get back focused. I did it again, y'all. One more time. I did it again. I just got impatient. I was like, this shit ain't coming fast enough. These contracts and waiting in between and grant processes. I just can't deal with that. Man, I'm struggling here. We struggling here. We waiting in between. This just not working, right? Everything was off. It just wasn't right. Things were going good, but the stuff wasn't rolling in like right for me. And so I had another opportunity. Seemed good again. Oh man, this one was worse than the last one. No, it wasn't worse than the last one. Nothing was worse than the last one, but it was bad. It was bad. And it wasn't how it seemed like it was gonna be. Again, it seemed like it was straight. It seemed like whatever, but then shit starts showing itself, and you know what you're supposed to be doing. And the more I knew what I was supposed to be doing, it's like the more the shit started going wrong on this job, man. And so I ended up this like real bad how it ended. But I ended up going out of town, right? So I went out of town. I think right when I got out of town, my grandmother passed and I had to go to a funeral. And then the next week, my son was killed and I was off. And they were like, real foul. Just you can have as much time as you need, whatever. Like a week after the funeral, they was like, when you coming back? And ultimately, I ended up working there again. Horrible ending to that too. So that was the third and the last damn time. And even though I'm impatient with contracts and the process of grants and whatever, I refuse to give up on my purpose. And I'm going to stick it out this time. And I've got further than I've ever gotten before, even in this tragedy, even in slowing down, even in whatever, like with my support system. I don't think I could have did it like by myself. I can't like take all of that. But like I got a good um sister friend circle. I got a good fiance. I got good support pushing me. Sometimes when I don't want to be pushed still. But just realizing really this year that I've been wasting my time. All this time I knew what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to have done different stuff. And every time I didn't do what I knew I was supposed to do, something went wrong. And so, you know, that's where I'm at now. Like, I'm not, I even like right now, like a while back, like months and months ago, I applied for a census job. Like, it's been, y'all know, I've been waiting on this background check for 2 months and 2 weeks. And I was like, see, that happened like that to remind my ass that I ain't supposed to go do that either. That's why it ain't happening. That's why whatever. Like, so just remember, like, do what is in your mind. So that fork in the road that you was talking about, whatever that fork was, whatever you was thinking about, like, focus in on that and go towards that, because whatever energy you brought out by thinking it and talking about it, that caused that shit to happen too today. It wasn't just what he did. It wasn't that he did a backdoor deal. It was the universe saying, girl, Rodman, do this shit. Quit playing.
And that is the key message that I've been hearing, because we talked about some other stuff that was going on for you. And I feel like energetically, so right now, we just came past autumn equinox.
What you told me last night and what she just said, my God. Like when I tell you, okay, so I know that this is all being recorded and everything. So this is going to be said and the reach is going to be whatever. So there are probably going to be more people that will find out about this. But I submitted my application to Northwestern for their counseling program, their master's of counseling program, so that I can pivot and delve in and focus on the population that is so easily forgotten about and slips through the cracks, the foster babies, the babies that's transitioning out of foster care, the babies that's complicated and damaged that get dumped in group homes, those babies who got PTSD from home life stuff and is still expected to rise to the occasion and perform normally like other kids who got love, support, and all of that. And the more that I started thinking about and cultivating this plan and this vision and all of that, like a month ago is when all of this started percolating. And it's crazy just having this conversation and the things that y'all saying and how you said like how your subconscious tells you like you're not supposed to be here because certain things start to change. I didn't even realize until you just said it that there was a shift in like I went from being like super stoked about getting up early and doing this and all of that. And even though the days was long, it was fine. And then a month ago, it was like, I started getting up and I was just getting up early enough to get to work on time, but still somehow managed to still come into the office about an hour or so after the day is supposed to start. And my thought process being more and more about how can I cultivate this and get out here now and serving my purpose while cultivating everything with the licensing and all of the stuff to, you know, and that's when that pivotal thing, just realizing like, I love my career that I cultivated in property management and real estate, the connections, the experience, all of that. But ultimately, me being naturally a connector, people naturally flocking to me for resources, help, assistance, guidance. It is in me. Like naturally, this is something that I do. I genuinely care about people's well-being and making sure that they can be the best versions of themselves. And whatever I can do to help that, I genuinely want to do. I can't do that in housing. Moving up the food chain for a property management firm ain't gonna help me save lives, short other than just being able to write a check for some stuff that sound good. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a superficial supporter. I want to actually roll my sleeves up. I don't want to complain about the changes that we need and how we can better these kids and improve things like the voters. People complain about this whole process and what, but nobody want to vote locally. Don't nobody want to vote nationally. Motherfuckers don't want to vote. I can't do that. I'm not going to
We
sit here and
just
explain
talked
about these.
about that. We
I'm not going to
Put a
sit
just
here
pin
and
in it.
talked about
explain.
Before we move to that one, I just want to acknowledge what is so important about what you're talking about from the professional perspective before we pivot to voting.
Yeah.
Because this is such an important point for people, not just us right here sitting here, but because we're recording this and we're sharing this live, it's history now. It's going to be part of
Yeah.
the conversation. But we've got to figure out how we manage this comfort with letting shit die. Like things that die, think about things that die. Death don't ever be this like silent thing that people just let happen unless it's
Yeah.
chemically induced.
Yeah.
Natural death is screaming, screeching, trying to hold on to life. And
Yeah.
so when you start seeing your characteristics sound like a velociraptor,
Yes.
like my characteristics, when they sound like a velociraptor, that means there's some stuff I'm supposed to be letting go of
Yeah.
because I'm supposed to be accepting a process that is about things passing away,
Yeah.
being okay with something else will birth from those ashes.
Yeah.
But the longer that I try and hold on to the thing that is dying,
Yeah.
the more it's going to kill the part of me that would survive this death.
Ooh.
And that's the work that you have to do around your career, because the
That's
end
a
of a
whole
job,
word.
I mean, it's look at my whole career, y'all. Nobody has endured in large numbers some of the strangest exit strategies that you have ever seen, like I, right? And
Right. Right.
and in every one of them, it was the work that you do to take responsibility for the role that you played in where you are.
Yeah.
Regardless of if it's somebody else's fault for 90% of it,
Yeah.
the work that I do around taking responsibility for what I could have done differently is far more powerful than the times when I win because I got it right step by step. And
Yeah.
I think that's when you're about to start a new education path, when you're changing all of those things,
Yeah.
that is always the way that shows up in my experiences. In my experiences, when I've made a commitment to do something different, the rest of the stuff shrieks at me.
Yeah. The universe
Right?
is telling me right now,
Everything else
like,
is like, that's over for you.
right.
And I'm here
I
to yell in your face to tell
I
you it's
feel
over.
like with the way that this all like unfolded and me just kind of really trying to process it almost in real time, like this is the first time I will say, because you know me, I'm very much passionate, you know, but my goals are my goals, and when I go in tunnel vision and I'm on. But there is nothing that I have planned or put on my goal list that I felt so strongly about to the point of being completely comfortable. Because here's the thing, I had already spoken into the universe that because of this program and the rigor and the way that they have it set up, I would have had to part ways eventually because I cannot do my hours, I cannot do my internship and be employed full time. So that
Mm-hmm.
pivot is going to be forced upon me
Mm-hmm.
eventually. I had already talked myself through that, put it out in the universe like, okay, this is going to get real because this is the same with clinicals, the same for medical students, the same for nursing students. Like when they get to that point, life as you know it with an employer is no longer. So the fact that like seeing all of this stuff unfold and me speaking life into this thing that I really want to cultivate and make happen and can see it flourishing and evolving, like, and then things are starting to fall into place in real time with like this happening with the news dropped on us, like the timing of all of this and everything. Like my anxiety shot through the roof earlier when they dropped all of this on us. But a part of me, I think, has a calm that I've never had when I've been through this, because it's not my first rodeo of management changes, sales, and job pending in the balance. But this is the first time ever that I've had this level of calm about like I'm more worried about my team than myself. Like I have this calm, just like, all right, I already know I already know what I need to do. I just need to make sure I got money to maintain while I can cultivate and percolate this vision and make it a reality.
For sure. This is making me think about this idea of know your worth from applying for a job perspective,
Yeah.
and seeing ourselves as the asset and not the corporations, companies, and institutions that we go to as the asset.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really great spot for you, LaShonda, to share some, because I know that's like a key element of
Mm-hmm.
understanding human resources, is knowing that they are more important of an asset than your bricks and mortar will ever be. And not every industry pays attention to that. So I'm gonna hand it
Yeah.
over to LaShonda, but I do want to say one more thing about the construction and development industry before we move on to the next topic. But go ahead, LaShonda.
Well, no, so I mean, I think there's a couple things that I'm hearing. And we each have different journeys. And, I can even equate how I ended up where I am in the seat that I'm in right now to, those same indicators that Camille talked about and LaShondra talked about. And y'all might say it's the universe. I'm a kingdom kid. I'm like, ain't nothing but God, that's me. But it really is that, like, and for me, timing has been the biggest part of all of this. I mean, like, I worked for my last employer twice. I was a boomerang. I worked there for a year and a half and did a good job at what I was doing. And a headhunter basically came and swooped me out and took me to go do something that was something I'd never done or even thought about doing before. I went and did that job. And then literally the boss I left came knocking at my door and was like, wait, what did you go over there to go do? Okay, now I need somebody to come back here and do exactly that thing that you just went over there to go do, but at a way larger scale. So in that transition, I was like, couldn't have written that better if I had written it, if I had to put it down on paper myself. And then, being back at a company, I love traveling. I'm there for 2.5 years working on a project that takes me to 17 countries in a 2.5 year period. Was it difficult?
I,
Yep.
I
Did it come with
remember that
challenges?
journey because, yeah, you were like Dora
Everybody was
over
like, oh, you're home? Why are you here? You're never here. You're always
yeah.
like on the side of a mountain.
Look, it was a
Yeah, I
treat
mean, and it was
anytime you was.
great.
It was a treat anytime you was in the country, let alone Milwaukee.
Exactly. Exactly. But it was a good thing for that period. I
Yeah.
learned a ton from it. It was because I was open to the opportunity and recognized the place that my family is at, my household is at. And this is an opportunity that's unique that I might not get otherwise. So I took
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
advantage of that.
Yeah.
Then I had a conversation with somebody about, well, what's next? And
Yeah.
that led to the last role that I was in, doing something completely and totally different. But yet again, it was me for the first time using the degrees that I paid so heftily for, you rah rah Marquette for,
Yeah.
and combining my HR experience and my communications experience, but dealing with it at a totally different level. The one good thing that came out of 2020 was the way I had to step my game up with the work that I had to do with regards to crisis management and leadership,
Mm-hmm.
with regards to the way that I was able to put together certain strategies. I have said to people since I started this job that I'm now in only 3 weeks ago, I said, had 2020 not been 2020, I don't know that I would have had the confidence that I needed in order to be able to say, sure, make me the head of HR for a company. I don't know that I would have had that level of confidence, but I'm like, 2020 has done nothing this year but continually said, oh, you thought that was interesting. Here, hold my beer. And I have
I'm
somehow
Over
telling
and
figured out a
you,
over
way
and
to
over
move.
and over and over again.
listen here, hold the case, hold the keg.
Hold the keg.
Whew.
Exactly.
The whole
You
thing.
know what? For me, what's really crazy about 2020 is nobody needed us on the ground more than they need us in 2020, boy. They've been
Yep.
just, man, this is
Yep.
like the year that people like finally hold a lot of us to value and realize now, especially now, because they can't do it for sure. And they realize, like, if they never had to admit it, they got to admit the truth now. Because you
Yeah.
know what COVID did for this community work? A lot of organizations So first off, like just to tell y'all like about the stats, with homicides in 2015, it was like this year is, but different. It's like it was a noticeable jump in homicides that year. So we was like, damn, what's going on? And
Yeah,
so
I will say this did feel like a deja vu type.
yeah, it was
When I
real
started to
bad.
see
It
the
wasn't
stats, I
as
was like,
bad
I
as it
feel
is
like we've,
now, but it
yeah,
was a drastic jump. And so we started doing a lot of outreach, really, really tough. And whether people was working together in collaborations or not, it was like a all hands on deck, right? In every neighborhood, especially certain ones, because we got a plethora of organizers concentrated in Sherman Park, but it's a lot of them all over. And
yeah.
so you saw stuff going down a little bit every year. Y'all know when it spiked up this year. Y'all know why it spiked up from a grassroots perspective? Because them big organizations who wasn't really doing stuff closed down. And then the ones that are doing stuff got very limited on the work that they was able to do. And then the people on the ground got very limited, real limited on what we could do because we don't even got the funds to do shit like we supposed to anyway, let alone under COVID conditions. But we still, even though we don't got the funds. Grassroots people have been the backbone for the people in the hood during COVID because it sure ain't been the city or the county or these organizations. And now these homicides, domestic violences, and suicides is spiking up. This is right when we could be like, see, y'all said what we was doing didn't matter. Look at these numbers. Y'all can't do it by yourself. So this is a time where they gotta really face shit in 2020.
Facts. I don't disagree at all. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
what
think,
was your, what was your? You said you had a pivot for the development and construction industry.
yeah, so when you bring up the social justice side of this, the important side of the conversation with social justice is also wrapped inside of the problem with the field you're in with development and property management. So I don't know if any of you guys got a chance to look at the city of Milwaukee's anti-displacement study when they were doing all of this work around assessing the gentrification and displacement of people as we were redeveloping neighborhoods. So in the anti-displacement study, there was a lot of focus on the diversity that owned buildings, right? So you own a building, but you don't manage it. You hire a contractor that does property management to manage your building. And what we were seeing in that anti displacement study is that there isn't really an intentional focus right now on property ownership companies that come from a diversity strategy around suppliers, right? So I don't know how many Black owned property management firms there are. I don't know how many Latino or other cultural backgrounds other than people who identify as white. I don't know how many people are in that industry providing that service. Why is it so important that that industry looks like the people it is renting to and has characteristics that are the same as people they're renting to? Is because if they have intentions to provide the best possible services in the property, the best possible um, amenities in the property, that may potentially mean that the ones that come in with certain categories, like y'all know what coding I'm talking about. Do I got to be plain? All right, when you pour and you got the Section 8 funding coming in to cover a piece of your rent, it's not as important to me if your air conditioning is blowing too cold and your house is too cold. It's far more important to me for the person who is living in the apartment that the penthouse of this apartment is paying the full rent with cash.
Yeah.
So, like the property management segregation and discrimination issues are not as easily resolved if none of the people who come from the community that this property has been placed in,
Yeah.
if they lived in the conditions that that neighborhood is accustomed to. And that's the work that hasn't happened in your industry. So, like, as much as what if the work that you did somehow was linked with property management, and you were doing something specific to the opportunity young adults that are coming fresh out of foster care that might be receiving some form of Section 8 support for their housing, but need additional services in that building to wrap around them. There are some development companies that have done something to be better at this. I got a couple of good friends that have been working at Common Bond for a while, the organization that I run at, Artists Working in Education. We do artist residencies with Common Bond in their facilities with the property management company there. Shout out to my girl Ray Hill, she dope. So like there's certain people out here who are in that property management field, but they haven't gone that next level because housing is a key social justice lever.
Yeah.
So if we're addressing housing as organizers, we can address all the other symptoms because you at least got somewhere stable to live. I ain't got to worry about losing housing. So now I can focus on getting a therapist and being consistent with that therapist. I can focus on identifying the neighborhood or learning the neighborhood, right? Like if you move in less than every 6 months, then do you ever figure out where the stores are? Do you ever figure out like what services are walkable for you? Do you ever figure out the farmers market calendar in your neighborhood? No.
Right.
So like these kinds of things come from stable housing management, not just from we built it, it's pretty, you can come here now.
Right.
And that's a conversation that needs to be had, and that gap hasn't been filled. So I have no expectations in your field of the job you were in because you were not high enough in the ranking to make the difference that needed to be made.
Absolutely.
And those are the kind of things like when I get into situations like this where I like hate my job around that, I usually hate a job over that glass ceiling.
Yeah.
If I was in your shoes, I would do this differently. And that piece is key. But I will say, as somebody who's in a pair of shoes that I swore once I got in them shoes, I would do it differently. Let me tell you something. It's a whole lot of shit I learned. Learned with a T.
Listen.
That said to me that my impression of what the thing I aspired to be, the CEO of an organization, my impression of what that was nothing like what I thought it was when I was a director in the middle management role.
And I will tell you,
nothing like it.
My goal, like when I first got into the industry, I was like, my goal is to get to the top of the food chain because there's not enough, it's predominantly white, predominantly male industry. 90% of the time, if you go to most properties, you're going to either see a middle-aged white man, middle-aged white woman, or some 20-something white guy or white girl. To give an example, so some years back, I was interviewing for a management position. The portfolio was in Tulsa. It was, you definitely had to be upper middle class to afford this portfolio. I secured the interview courtesy of one of my homegirls. She told me about the opportunity, connected the dots, boom, bam, did the interviews. I knocked them all out the park. First interview done, second interview done, met the regional director, boom, bam, done, right? Resume solid, experience there, all the credentials specific to property management I have, to include alumni from Acre, like all the boxes checked. Real estate sales license secured. I can secure leases here, Illinois, Minnesota, the whole, like, secure, right? You would think that they would have handed me an offer on a silver platter. You know who got the offer? A 20-something white kid who had no experience in the industry, was an assistant at the company to someone else. Why was I not given the job? Because at the time I was finishing my MBA program and was told that me being in school was problematic.
So let me correct you on one thing, Robin. You didn't get the job because that was never your job to be in the first place.
That part.
There you go. That part.
So, and so what I will say is there's a couple things. I have so many. One, as we've had these conversations, you've heard me say it a bazillion times, like your situation you're in right now the fork in the road that you're facing, the things that you already know lie ahead of you,
Yeah.
it literally is tattoo across your forehead. So be it, see to it. You know what path you need to do. You know what it is that needs to be done. You know what steps you need to take. And this is just one hurdle out of your way.
Yeah.
But the other thing about it is, and this goes for women, especially any women of color, is we oftentimes can be our own worst enemy when it comes to some of these things, because we look at a job description, right? And you say, this job description has 12 things that somebody must have. I need to have those 12 things plus the 5 extra credit things that I know that nobody's going to tell me about, but that I know exist. And that's the only way I'm going to apply for this job, or that's the only way I'm going to go after it, or that's the only way I'm going to think that I'm worthy of it.
Yeah.
And then undersell ourselves both mentally and even in how we go into someplace and represent ourselves, right? Like even, and I take this back to personal experience, like the role that I'm in right now. Unlike you, where you're like, I always wanted to be in this. I used to tell people all the time, I'm like, I've seen these VPs lose their minds. I'm not trying to be anybody's senior executive, anything. Like, I was the girl who was like, I just want to sing songs and live in a van down by the beach. Like, and I do HR to pay my bills. Like, I sing hip hop hooks and I want to live in a van down by the beach. Like this, I just wanted to be a hippie that lives in a van down by the beach. Corporate life got a hold of me. And what I learned was that I do have a knack for people and culture that somehow, while to me, it seems very common sense ain't common because everybody ain't got it.
Yeah. There you go.
My grandfather used to say, common sense is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing for those of us that have it because it allows us to navigate the things that we're supposed to be able to navigate. But it's a curse because we got to deal with those folks that just don't have it. And so to me, people and culture are common sense. You treat people with respect. You hold people accountable for what they say they will do and for what they should do. In the workplace, we're adults ask you to do things or babysit you like you're one of my children because we're all teach my children self-awareness and a be. So why do I have to help a grown person do these things? But common sense isn't common. Like these are things to me that just go hand in hand. And so, it's exactly that. Like when it comes to, transitions and stuff like that, sometimes we are where we're supposed to be in the time that we're supposed to be there. And for me, it is like for the past few weeks, like going to meetings, people saying stuff and me saying things that to me are just common sense. Like, why wouldn't we do this? And everybody's like, it's refreshing to have you here. And I'm like, hey. Or one of the owners
Isn't
looks
that
at me and
crazy?
says,
Like I go in, man, listen, over the last, I'll say 4 years, 5 years, probably more than that. I'll sit in meetings. That's the story of my life. And I appreciate that what I say for whatever reason is respected. Lysandra know this to be true. Like it's people who said the same shit I said. But for whatever reason, it's held to weight. And I appreciate it again. I appreciate that what I've said is respected. But it be like common sense stuff. It's like too easy. It's like it just don't make sense. And they be like, oh my goodness. Like it's just this profound thought. And I know that I'll take that I'm intelligent. I know that I come up with creative ways to come up with problems that are already there. But we all know the problems. Nobody identifying the issues we got in the community is unique or came up with no bright ass idea. And ain't nobody brought up nothing that ain't nobody brought up before. But it's how we attack the stuff or what will be impactful and how we got to look at that. And so I do look at things in different ways, but even some of the ways that I look at it, when I honestly look at shit, I be like, dude, y'all literally don't want to do it. Like, you just don't want to. It's just like too easy. Like you said, it's just like common sense. It's not even a matter of they don't got common sense. People, some don't, but they got common sense. They just acting like they don't because they be treating us That's why. So
Mhm.
it's like some of them don't, and some of them be playing the game. And I'm starting to realize when I'm talking to people and when I'm realizing how all of these strings and stuff go behind the scenes. So I don't work doing campaign stuff, so I know the political aspect. I don't
Yeah.
work in with organizations, and then I don't worked on a grassroots level, and then I done had personal trauma from experience in life. And
Right.
so and my friends done been between me and my friends, we done encounter everything, all kinds of anything. I had friends who got raped in high school. I got friends who was assaulted. We got single parents. I was a teen parent. They said the odds was against, me, and just all kinds of different things. So I've just had a lot of life experience, and I don't have psychology and sociology degrees and stuff, but for the stuff that I've been through, and Lysandra can attest to this, I got a lot of experience that back up what I'm saying and how to get to certain things. And so I think that it's crazy though still, because like I'll be sitting there and I'll say something and I'm like, yeah, right, this is a genius idea to y'all. Y'all gotta be dumb then. Cause this is just too common sense.
Yeah, you know what?
That's
It's crazy. It's crazy that you say that, because like that's pretty much my thought process often when it's like a lot of efforts are being repeated in the same concentrated areas, and then you have other areas that need um need our touch, so to speak, and nobody is even speaking to those opportunities and avenues. And it kind of goes to your point, Lashonda, when you were saying like we're housing that disconnect between, you have this property that you put in repurpose this building in the middle of a community that is primarily, you know, people who can't afford this apartment, and then you put all these people who can afford it, and then there's this awkwardness and tension because now, so case in point, my property is smack dab downtown. Literally, I can look out my office window and see Pfizer. That's how close we are, right? Kitty corner from us is a prime resource for the homeless population. But to the left of my building and across the street from my building are Teslas, BMWs, Range Rovers. And what do all of these folks say when they happen to see a homeless person coming into the building and they go into our food court, or they're wandering in the area where the Teslas and the Range Rovers are? They're calling the police. They're complaining to our security. And then I have to remind them, hey, we live downtown, yeah, but right across the street, prime resource for the homeless. Can't shake them. Sorry. Okay.
It's crazy too, because it's like it's almost a disservice, and it points it out because either they are ignoring whatever, which is
Mm-hmm.
racist outright, or either they not intelligent enough, which is still racist and systemic because they got there. And you be sitting in a room with all these damn people. This me for real, because I don't got no degree. I ain't my friends all went to college. I had my son. I didn't go. I could have went. I chose to stay here, to be with my grandfather and grandmother and whatever. It happened. And throughout life, I used to regret it because the only reason I regret college is not even to have the degree, it's for the experience. I was supposed to go to a Black college. I was supposed to have that experience, and I missed the chance that I had to experience that. But other than that, I don't have no damn regrets. All I hear from people is the damn debt they owe. And a lot of my friends, only a small percentage of them are in the field that they actually went to school and got the degrees for. And I'm sitting in a room in these meetings with these people with these damn degrees, and I'm looking around like, are y'all serious? How did y'all get through a whole college and get a degree? Some of them even have higher degrees. And I know that you got to have some level of intelligence, they say, but I'd be like, and it's not to like shit on people with degrees, because it's hard work and some people are intelligent and they deserve what they get. But some of them people, you could tell who got passed through and who didn't in the meetings.
Well, I will say this one thing to remember about college. It's not like in high school, completion is just completion.
Yeah.
you can have like that all the jokes that they have about what do they call the doctor who was graduated with a 1.8 grade point average? A doctor. So like a lot of them can be dumb and just execute what is required of them in a syllabus. And the ones that do better aren't all smarter. I say this to my son all the time. 90% of school is getting things turned in before they're due. If you do that and you save a teacher time, they make you their favorite. Nobody wants to be the favorite because of popularity, but the truth of the matter is that teacher be done grading your shit sooner. So that means you get the best grade because they started with you. So like if we could get young people to see it as that, the experience of graduation wouldn't necessarily be so much attached to being smarter as much as it would be attached to being able to finish something that you start. And that's, to me, that's a key thing. Look at people who have never had a job doing a thing and went right from being a college student to a college teacher. Those people are idiots. I'm sorry, sounds really uncomfortable to say, but the truth of the matter is you're teaching a course with no experience on what you're teaching other than what you were taught, which means when I ask you a question, what is it? What should I do when things go wrong? You don't have an answer. So, like, it's a combination of both. And because I have more degrees than I should, god damn it, like a lot of times, like my coach who I'm delinquent with, who I need to be calling because everybody else is calling me that's around her to remind me I haven't called my coach. Shout out to Sandy Brown, one of the greatest coaches in the world. But one of the things Sandy said to me one time in coaching that is so important for the nerds, right? The ones that are like, I graduated, I got these degrees, I'm smart and I'm smarter than you. One of the things she brought to my attention is no one can ever help you if they think you're smarter than them all the time. Like if you walk into everything, like I got all these degrees, so I know everything, so I got this and da da da, right? People are gonna be like, I'm gonna look to you for all the answers since you walked in here, Miss Answer Pants. And and like for me in my personal experience, when she said that, it resonated because maybe people saw me struggling and they didn't help because they got this impression that I thought I knew more than them, even if I didn't say it. So, like, just think about all the opportunities, LaShondra, you could have gotten help if people did not assume that you could not learn from them. And that shit hit hard, okay? Because it wasn't a conversation while I was down, which is what really helps. I was in this like, okay, all right, had a good year. Shit looks good. Me and the coach finna get consistent, feeling stable. Let me go over here and get my teeth knocked out by all this realness. And what I love about that is like as you grow as a person, as a professional, as someone that does all that self-examination and getting rid of the stuff you don't need to be doing, it really does allow you to show up like that. Now, there's a lot of people in the world because of privilege who've never had to do this kind of work. Because when you live a life of privilege, it is a bubble to the reality that others have. So you can go get these degrees. You can be a little white girl who graduated and your daddy bought you a house when y'all got married and you never experienced any idea or concept of loss. And, you know, other than the natural occurring losses of death and family and things like that, you might not ever understand the experience of somebody struggling. You know what I'm saying? And and that's the kind of stuff that we don't do enough self-examination around because just like they're in a bubble, we in a different bubble. Our bubble is it's everybody else's fault. And that can be true and it still not be the right posture. Like it can be true that this shit ain't your fault. And you still got to do something to get into a position where the things that aren't your fault don't keep you from getting where you're trying to go. And that has nothing to do with like a degree specifically, but like when I talk to my son versus my daughter has had a taste of the HBCU life and all she care about is getting back in the lane, right? I get it. My son don't want no parts of college. But for me, it's like, okay, he doesn't want any parts of college because he doesn't see the need because of what he's interested in. He's interested in technology. He's interested in gaming. He wants to code. That's important to him. And that's not a college track. That's a certificate track. And it's very different for him than it is for her. Like everyone has to start figuring out if we taught from purpose instead of teaching from standards met and taught by standards met after we worked on purpose, just imagine where students would be by the time they got to high school.
Yeah.
Because purpose don't have to be exactly what your parents did. But if you have
I agree.
a trusted adult saying to you over and over again, what do you want to do in school? That's what Montessori is, by the way. If anybody's wondering what it's like to be in Montessori, they keep asking you to make choices. And I think that's something that turns the education system that many of us are accustomed to on a dime. Do these things because I said so is the most normal schooling. Now, Montessori got some other, Maria Montessori got some other issues that we're not going to talk about that are specific to being racist as fuck. But if we take off her racist behaviors and we apply the same thing that all of these children who have always had privilege were allowed to have, at the core of the teachings of Montessori is this: you can be whatever you want to be, but you have to be rigorous at being great at that thing. Whatever it is, it has a practice. And I think that thing is what we need right now in our education system. And I thank Rona for that shit, because if it wasn't for Rona, I wouldn't have as much of an understanding of what my son wants to do. Like we've talked about it, but this new conversation about what he wants to do, coupled with listening to what's happening in his classes, taking my headphones off when I come between meetings and hearing, I love Jesus also, but I just wonder why there's so much Jesus in gym. Like, can y'all do jumping jacks and call them reaching for Christ or something? Like, can you physically somehow turn that into an activity? Like, witnessing those things has done two things. One, it's validated that my son is like, yes, this is bullshit. And at least my mother is not fronting like it's not. And we can love Jesus and not love Jesus during gym. Like, it's okay to not be expecting to do a reflection on Christ during gym. You have a class called devotion. That's where we would expect you to
can we have burpees with Boaz? I just want to know.
Burpees with Boaz. I mean, let's build this out. Let's build this out. Moving the Rock of Gibraltar.
Oh my God.
So today I had a conversation with a teacher from Jakari School, and he was like making calls, just making sure that everything was smooth with us going on. And because he said some parents were having problems logging on who had hotspots and they didn't know who had what. So anyway, me and him got to talking, and we were just talking, and he acknowledged that during class, sometimes he just looked in the screen at the kids' faces and he'd be wondering what they're feeling like in all of this, right? And before we ended the call, I told him that I respected that at that school, because Jakari go to Hamilton, and it's a mix of people, and the teacher was white or whatever, and it doesn't really matter. It just matters that it is a factor in it with all of these things going on, because it was an extra add on to why he was wondering why some of them are feeling like they feeling. But we were talking about COVID and stuff, but I told him that one of my friends, Angela Harris, she's a teacher, and she was just talking about teaching with feeling and finding out how they feeling and what they going through or whatever. And I encouraged him. I told him I respected that he even paused to even think that, to have a space to think and wonder what they're feeling like and thinking first off, because a lot of teachers don't even think that, or even care or sit with that on their mind. And I also encouraged him that I know that everything is supposed to be curriculum and go this way and go that way. But I told him, we were just talking about how nothing is really on point. And I was like, it's so much more on point for you to go off grid to ask them and stop and pause when you see them students and certain ones looking a certain way, to just ask them how they feeling, or to do that time later to check in on them. I said it will go so much further, and I encourage you to do that. When you are wondering and feeling that way, you should
Mm-hmm.
do it. And he thanked me, and he said, at the end of us talking, that I really helped him through his day, and that really left something on his mind. And so he was gonna do that. And then I ended up talking to the guidance counselor, and I was really bothered that, first off, I was bothered that last year when Buka was killed, that they didn't really know and really like kind of address that with Jakari, even after I called and let them know or whatever. I don't feel like they addressed it properly. And then he has a new guidance counselor, and they didn't tell his new counselor anything about it. And that really, really bothered me and her too. And so we just talked about certain things and stuff that's just not in place for like people going through that and going through this in school. And she was just saying, like, when we find a way to do it, even if it's virtually or when school resumes, because they got like a Zen room there, she would like to like talk a little more about like any of the services I have or other people had that I know, to come in and do more, because she felt like it's just not there. And it's just everything, just to pause and ask them how they feel. And even if they started off in the beginning before class, how y'all feeling, what you feeling like, I think that would be better, you
It
know.
matters. It definitely matters. So, hey, y'all, we got two more topics that I wanted to talk about. We talked about, no, well, actually, really three technically. We talked a little bit about politics. Um, you know, I don't like to talk about politics at this stage during a presidential election ever. There is never a point in the history of me actually voting that the local and national elections have been a healthy time to talk about politics. But I will hold the space for others to say whatever words, whatever feelings and emotions that resonate with your soul about the current political environment in any popcorn order. I do not want to begin because I'm just going to shut up.
Girl, well, I'ma start and move on. It's going up downtown here and everywhere. And just the political climate, it's like it's so many layers to it. But at the end of the day, I feel like the system need to be broke, break the system. But
Break
we
the
also
system.
gotta build our own selves up too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we could go in a village and move in a little town and go away, but the system's still gonna be there.
Yeah.
And so I want to fight it. I just feel like the whole system, just throw it all away and start all over. What scares me about being here in Wisconsin, and I know it's a lot of other Wisconsins, but I just really feel like we one of the worst states for Black people because of our legislation. You got legislation in Wisconsin talking about, like, if the governor is talking about defunding in any type of way or things along that line, trying to make it illegal to even bring it up. So it's like that's what we're going against. You got people who had a 30-second meeting when he wanted to call a special meeting to discuss issues that they just don't give a fuck about. And so you got openly um stupidity, like the last voting polls. Voss with that hazmat suit saying it's perfectly fine. And then like him even Voss again, like saying, okay, well, we'll build a equity board. That's just like a hush hush. He's like smart. He knows how to maneuver the system and keep people balanced out, even though he's against it. He'll just build some little fake ass committee to not really cover stuff for the sake of saying he did it to cover it. And then nothing will never get done. It'll just sit there and, we'll still be stuck in the same places. So I think it's very important for people to know like who do what. Because one person will be mad at the alderman. Um, they'll be not mad at the alderman or the assembly person for something that a senator or a congressperson do or whatever the case. Like they don't know whose role is what. And so I think people need to first know who do what and why it's important. A lot of
Right.
people be complaining about these courts and about these judges when people go to court and all of that. They don't even go vote when it's time to vote for the damn judge. But they be complaining and they don't know like all that stuff matters. And then you got people who shouldn't be in office who don't even have nobody running up against them. We
Oh
need
yeah.
to like mobilize and support people to run up against people who need to be out of their seats. And we need to educate people about who do what so they know more why certain votes are more important and
Right.
why at least we could change stuff. And then like the hopelessness, right? Like it sounds real hopeless like for Wisconsin to me as a
Oh
state. We're getting state legislation, but I think we could do a whole hell of a lot in the city of Milwaukee though. And so I think just letting people know that and explaining like, okay. I ain't even gonna lie to you. The federal level, state level is fucked up. Okay. But we got some power in this city. Let's do this. Let's mobilize. Let's vote for this. Let's change this. Let's go after this. Well, we can go after and then find ways to mobilize. But I look at them other places, the people who vote us out, the people who take all of our tax money and give us pennies back when we make most of the state money, and they don't care. They know we need it more than them in them areas that they're in. They know we need our streets fucked up. They know our buildings messed up. They know we need economic development.
facts.
They're there. They're taking it. They living good. They living in peace and serenity on farms and they neighbors is a mile away. They having real peace. We on top of each other. We in trauma. We hearing sirens. You know, we rushing back and forth through meetings. We back and forth on top of each other doing school and meetings. And I mean, it's just crazy. I seen this one lady, it's like a news anchor, and I think she had on her panties, a blouse, and then she had like her kid toys, and her pet was like by her, and it was like showing the real scene in the background of the Zoom corners and the rest of the room. Like that's like everybody.
Right.
Everybody is going through that, especially here. And a lot of people is like as far as other places go, you look at them places and look at how they are. It's like all of the people have a certain culture. Even if you get the people out of seat, it'll just be another motherfucker just with that same mentality in the seat.
Right.
Cause they all think like that in them areas. And so it's like I feel like as far as politics here, legislation on the state level, no. On a local level, yes, we could get some stuff changed. The police, that's the city. The sheriffs, that's the county. We got an issue with law enforcement. We can do some stuff on the city and county level. I'm on the City of Milwaukee Community Collaborative Commission, and we're going to make sure the community have a role in the process of this community-oriented policing. And we're going to make sure that no policies and procedures just get pushed through like they always do. And so that's this gonna be interesting doing that too. So that's my take on politics. I feel like it's time for the people protesting and the people behind the scenes trying to push for legislation to strategize and push at the same time. and I just feel like it's time. It's time to really get some stuff going. But this presidential election, listen, that scares me. It scares me. Either way, it scares me. Every way, every option scares me. It's scary. And that's my take on politics.
Who wants to go next? Well, I have
Sorry.
absolutely no faith in this system. Not one single iota of faith, not in a single committee, not in any system that is designed to make sure that things don't get forced when all they've ever done is force things and lie to us. We cannot ever expect this machine to work, and because it's not broken.
It's
And this
working the
is,
way it was
it's
designed.
doing exactly what it was designed to do. And every single time I am listening to organizers, and I love all my organizer friends, I really do. I don't not identify as an organizer as much as I now identify as a strategizer. But the machine is working. It has absolutely no reason to pretend like it's not working. It doesn't have a desire to show you that it works. It doesn't care what you think about whether or not it works. And it also still sees you as less than a human being, still sees me as less than a human being. And that ain't changed, because just like we at home saying what we feel we need to say to our children to make sure they never forget, them crackers is at home saying to their children what they believe they should never forget. And those two things are not the same story. And because they're lying to themselves and each other, because they Black too, and they just can't come to grips with the fact that there would be no white people if there were no Black people, they will die in their lie, and they're fine with it. And we unfortunately believe pieces of that lie. And the more that we believe that lie, the more that we have hope in that lie, the harder it is for me to have real conversations with people about what can be done with a machine that's doing exactly what it said it was going to do. My new approach to politics, because I keep setting everything on fire, thinking it's all going to burn to the ground. And somehow I miss something. I'll be like, damn it, it's still alive. But my experience right now with this machine, most specifically, is around how desperately people in local politics can cling to this machine that is dying on the federal level, and how they don't know how to see it as a machine that needs to be destroyed because it pays them. And so I can't expect anyone who's been elected to office for more than 2 terms, anyone who has been elected, is in an appointed position, working at the pleasure of anyone in government, who is elected. Each of those roles cannot see how they are lying to themselves, no matter what color that person is. And as long as that's the case, as long as I'm making this conscious decision to be more than woke, like about this machine, it makes it really hard to have a realistic conversation, because where my conversation is right now is Joe Biden is 77 and Donald Trump is 74. And we're all just here waiting their death out. And we're hoping that whoever we put in those middle positions to follow them up is just as dedicated, if not more dedicated than at least the last, to pulling out pieces of that machine. And for me, if you're not pulling pieces out of the machine, you are the machine. And That's what our problem is right now. Folks think if they keep putting shit into this shit, and I'm talking about locally, if we keep adding more committees, if we keep putting more structure around something that we didn't structure properly, if we just add a factor to the policy with an amendment, maybe we'll change this. No, we won't. We'll just make it like a loop around back to what it already is. And why waste the gas out here in these streets going in a circle? Just go direct. If we're going to keep being in the machine, be in the machine. And I say this in a very abstract way, like out here, big picture, because, you know, in the minutia of what we're trying to change most immediately, and that is police reform, and then all of the things that are impacted by it being reformed, like the arts, for example, the shit I do, right? How the police reform issue does or doesn't impact my ability to create economic opportunities for artists. Like that conversation sits in this political, this local political narrative in a critical way. And people don't seem to be getting it. People are so busy trying to close a nicked artery in the police department situation, right? It's bleeding out on its way to its death, and nobody's calling it. Instead, we're wrapping the wounds, putting ice over the wounds, giving a blood thickening medication. We're doing all these things to keep it alive. And so we talk about these layers with the police. There's demilitarize and there's defund. And they're not the same thing. They're two very different things. And if we have a real conversation about demilitarization, it will lead to changing what policing is. It wouldn't lead to that if we didn't start from the militarization conversation. And we're not doing that here. While we were doing all this, the police still ordered all the equipment for the DNC as if that shit happened, to store up for when they need it. And as long as the budgets have allowed them to continue to find revenue stream opportunities to keep that organization alive, and we haven't come up with any solution to that, I just don't have any faith in any of these systems. And as far as I'm concerned, I would like to see it all dismantled.
Yeah, the police unions too.
I mean, it don't. That's another example of somebody who's working in that ER, but that's not the only one. Black folks is up in there creating, joining, and establishing committees, having the police killing us, and then going and forming committees about how we gonna deal with it. Don't resonate with my spirit, and it never will. Because that's a ruse to keep people quiet, to keep people satisfied, to give them what they think they want. But with what we want, we don't all agree on what we want. Some of us still want the police. Black folks.
Yeah, we don't all agree with what we want, because I'm like, break the systems. Yeah. The
so
system got to be broke. The system don't work.
Here's
The
the
system
challenge we
got
have.
don't work. It wasn't set up for us.
No. So we get a little bit of wealth. And this has been a healthy debate in my friend circle. We get a little bit of wealth. We want to protect our shit. That is not an unhealthy thought process when other motherfuckers ain't got shit and they ain't far. So, like, if you know for a fact that you bought a house in Milwaukee proper, and living in Milwaukee, one day you can be on a block that's the safe block in your brain, and 2 grandmas die, and that motherfucker become the trap, just like that. You know what I'm saying? Just from 2 high activity houses on one block, right? Whole dynamic can change. So when you bought the house with this long ass mortgage, right? It was one thing and now it's another. And so now you're in this house, you Black, you don't want to call the police, but you're not against calling the police over your shit. Right? Now I'm saying this, none of this is shade. This is reality and facts. So some of us are going to call the police because we paid for some shit and we want y'all to treat us like the white people. Come over here and deal with the motherfuckers fucking with my shit. But don't arrest me. Don't force me to get on the ground in my shit or at my shit because I called you. But this is what we're dealing with, right? We have some safety issues that can't just be walked back because it ain't just black people, it ain't just white people, it ain't just Latino people that's breaking into people's shit. Everybody who ain't got shit is tearing up other people's shit. So we don't know how to get to a place where people feel like they have something and that actually do have something, so they ain't got to come take my shit. Now, that's our problem. Our problem is we haven't resolved that as an economy. So as an economy, the likelihood that a black person has wealth is less than the white person does. So we want to reform the police, but we don't want to work on the things that would truly reform the police. And that would be people having economic opportunity at a greater scale so that motherfuckers ain't out here knocking people in the heads because they got their own shit. And they also care that don't nobody take they shit. So they somewhere worried about they shit and not your shit. So, that's like the most politically correct, politically incorrect definition for what our problem is with the police. And it's real talk. Like some of my friends that I've talked to, one really good friend mentioned, the amount of real estate that this friend of mine has had a very difficult challenge in the conversation around the uprisings where we had to be very vulnerable with each other as friends because we wasn't all on the same page, right? So some of us was like, burn all this shit down, burn it down, right? But then it was a couple like, hold on, don't burn down this block right here because this block ain't what you want. At least the third house from the corner ain't. And we sitting in the window and we ready for you, right? So you got this mix of friends. We're having this conversation about, damn, how do we deal with that? What do we do? Because that's a real issue as the sirens go by my damn house on the back. That's a real issue. Like, how do we manage that part of it? And Black people ain't responsible for that shit. So it's not our job to fix the fact that other people ain't giving us opportunities.
And I feel real torn with one part of all of this. So like the so Buka murder, the one of the murderers was under investigation. He was under a long-term drug investigation, is stated in the criminal complaint. And he was arrested 7 days to the date after he murdered Buka. So while he murdered him, he was being investigated. That pisses me off. He, did what he did. So I'm mad because on a federal level, because it was a federal case, because it was a drug case. Here they are with this investigation. This guy is out on parole, on fucking parole, and he killed my son. He was out on parole from robbery, and now he has murder and robbery on his record, which he was just a fucking menace to begin with. So I'm pissed off with law enforcement because I feel like law enforcement and systemic shit of them not giving a fuck about our Black boys and our community is what led up to his death. Those drug charges, not only did that happen, but so it was some drug charges. So the guy who murdered one of them, who murdered him, it was the long-term drug investigation. So when they did pick him up 7 days after his murder, it wasn't for the drug investigation. It wasn't for my son's murder. It was because he was at someone's house doing some threatening behavior, probably maybe finna commit another homicide. And they got him and his girlfriend at the time. They found the drugs. They put the drugs on her and everything. And on August 18th, her drug charges were dismissed. So the long-term drug investigation that, the guy was on, they investigated when he killed Buka, those drugs ultimately got dismissed from the case, y'all. So I'm infuriated with law enforcement. So that's one aspect of it. But on the other end, a lot of families who I work with. So before I had this happen to me, I worked with Peace Garden Project, MKE. That's my organization. It started with doing memorials for homicide families, and it's a couple of other things that I did, and it's expanded into a lot of other work now. But I work with families of homicide just like me for years before it happened to me. And all of them, all they would ever say is how the person was not caught. It would be years. I will talk to the people 2, 3, 4 years later. Some of them people still don't have justice. They don't know who did it, who did this to their loved ones. And so I am torn because for me, it was 3 people there when my son was murdered, and they only have 2 in custody, first off. And secondly, one thing that is crazy, was really fucking crazy, is that when they killed Buka, they had it from when they killed him on film to when they drove the car away from where they was at to when they parked the car. It was all on camera through people's houses, through security cameras, through everything, like the whole fucking way. They had everything. And in court, I'm not ready to see none of that, but they do have all of it. But what's crazy is that they caught them boys both 30 days to the date. No, December 10th, an article came out, saying how they had caught them. They had caught them. They caught both them boys 30 days, 30 days. I think it's because of who I am and all the work that I do. And I think it was a high priority case. But at the same time, I don't know about that because I told y'all they didn't catch him for the drug case or for Buka's murder when they got them. One of them they got and they knew who he was, but the other one they didn't know or whatever. So I think, God, the universe, whatever the case is, made it come to light because they say that God won't put more on you than what you can bear. I would not be able to bear the pain them families go through. I wouldn't even been able to make it, not knowing at least who did it wasn't in that fucking jail. I wouldn't have been able to go through life. And it's still hard, but I just wouldn't have been able to. I know I wouldn't have, Lysandra probably know too. I just wouldn't have been able to make it. I wouldn't have been able to. And I'm forever grateful to the police for getting them. And so I'm torn with all of this, with that. It's so painful for me with that because of that aspect, but I still feel how I feel and I still stand on it. And I'm more mad too because I feel like it's systemic bullshit that caused his murder too.
I mean, the
People will say it's what
circumstances
they
we
were
live in.
doing. They'll say it's what he was doing or whatever, but I look at the circumstances. I look at
Yeah.
the whole picture and not just what happened.
But that also goes into just like the irony of what it takes to be Black in America and all of the different emotions and things and layers that go into it. Because I know that LaShondra knows that, like, I have a brother in California who's a police officer. He grew up in South Central, and just like everybody else who's the brown kid who is the police officer, like, he went into it because he's like, hey, I grew up with people who are drug dealers and gang members in South Central, and I feel like I can make a difference. And he's new on the force, and he took the route of being a police officer at LAX versus LAPD for very intentional reasons. But it creates that conflict, right? Like, even when all of, and I won't even say all of this civil, the racial unrest started, because Lord knows what's
Mm-hmm.
going on. But the most recent, you know, that has created all of everybody's wokeness in, you know, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. I literally had one brother who is the whitest of my brothers, who was at the time living in Madison, and like pretty much if there is a protest somewhere, I could pretty much guarantee my brother that was in Madison was going to be on the front lines of some protest. So I have in the same weekend my little brother Ian on the front lines of a protest that's happening in Madison, where some privileged white woman decided, I don't think that this is worth my time, and these people are in my way, and I have someplace else I need to be. So let me just go ahead and drive my car through these protesters that are standing in the street. So I have a video from my baby brother of some woman driving through all of the protesters, feet away from where he's standing. And I'm like, you do realize that had you been hit, I'd be on the news, because I'd have been in Madison in less than an hour, and I'd have been ready to raise hell. So that was on one side. And the exact same day, I'm getting text messages, you know, I'm checking in with my brother who's in LA, and I'm like, how's it going out there in LA? How are you doing? And he's like, yeah, I'm on shift right now. Right now it's kind of quiet for us, but with the way that it works with the LAXPD is if stuff gets bad for the LAPD, they get called in as reinforcements. Well, this was right in the peak, like the very first weekend after everything popped off. And so he's like, yeah, I'm on duty now. If stuff gets rough in the city, we'll probably get called in as backup. And so literally I woke up that Saturday morning texting my brother immediately, because on the news, the second I turn on the TV, you see nothing but fires and everything else in LA. And I'm like, are you good? Are you okay? Did you get called in? He's like, nope, I lucked out. They called in half of our unit. I ended up staying back. I'm off for the next 3 days, and hopefully stuff dies down. But I'm like, that is the conflict that we all have to deal with. Like, we have the struggle of being Black in America, but at the same time, my brother who lives in LA will tell you, okay, well, when I'm headed home to Inglewood and not wearing my uniform, that don't, you know, that badge no longer makes a difference. That badge doesn't protect me. And so therefore, like, but to Camille's point, it's like, you do see both sides of it, right? But it goes back to what LaShondra said earlier, which is the system is not broke. The system is in the way that it was designed. And until there is something that can be done that can break the system and reestablish a system that truly is equitable and equal and beneficial for everyone, to protect everyone, the way that people seem to think the one we have is designed, but it is not, therein lies the problem. And add to that, like, you know, I hate politics conversations because it feels like a lose-lose situation. Like, I'm the girl that's like, can we just all elect Killer Mike to be president? Because get that man some acid, and he has some of the most, you know, like genius thoughts about how the government should work. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I'm not saying anybody should do acid except for Killer Mike if he wants to be, you know, like.
We rock with him. He got him and his dude got a song too. It's perfect for the revolution.
From the Run the Jewels, absolutely.
Yes, yes.
But like, you sit and you listen to stuff they about with careers, like, it's stuff that seems common sense. Stuff that you literally are like, but how do we action it? This goes back to a conversation, and we had this conversation earlier in the summer when we first kicked off all of these, which is we had all these movements happen, and so many people that wanted to be leaders in the movement and leaders with activism, and it's like, but what are we asking for?
What are we asking for?
What do we want? How do we, the only way that action really happens is when people can come together and figure out, what are you asking for?
Yep.
Ask for in a manner, in a which that somebody can even respond to it.
And like LaShondra said, everybody not asking for the same thing. We got to get to something at least that we all agree on.
I think in a list of things,
be ready for the response, because the response is not going to be, yep, here you go. The response is going to be, here's the 50 hoops that we want you to jump through in order to be able to accomplish these things. And there has to be, hey, here's what we're asking for collectively, and here's what we're willing to do in order to be able to accomplish the things that we're asking for.
Right. I think our biggest problem is there are people who play pivotal roles throughout this process. One of the biggest problems with the activists, every activist that I have engaged with during this time period has said to me, I'm the one who fill in the blank. And the biggest problem with the movement is everyone is jealous of someone else getting credit for something that they believe that they started, that they didn't start because this shit happened before. So everything that we're doing is the 60s repeating itself because they didn't finish. And we are in a situation where if we don't finish several generations in the future, this will repeat again.
You know what? I don't think, you know what I've been saying, and this is one of those common sense things that I just don't think I've been hearing and seeing enough. I think we should make it our duty to look at how they did the leaders before us.
I mean, why hasn't anybody done that? Why isn't there more of that?
Like, people need to look at the move. They need to look at just the whole history of everybody who assembled and how they disbanded and infiltrated and did everything. Because I don't think, and this ain't no shade, but I don't think people have learned enough lessons from the leaders of the past to be successful enough to bypass the obstacles and the shit that they do to just blow our shit all the way up. It's just like history repeats itself again and again because people don't go back and look at, like the elders. Some elders will feel like it's disrespectful to say that the past people failed. It's not that it's disrespectful.
They did though. And that's okay.
And
they got to stop taking that failure so personally. They were already behind the 8 ball to the tune of 450, 500 years. So there are and have been so many small uprisings that no one ever knew about.
Mm-hmm.
And then extremely sensational second, third, fourth, fifth wave of the exact same thing, but with a slightly or completely different person taking on that pivotal role. So when we talk about Rosa Parks, I can't remember the name of the girl who was first. Lord Jesus. The girl who was first to sit down on the bus.
We are our ancestors.
I can't remember her name though, but she sat down, but she was two things: darker skin than Rosa and younger, and also possibly an unmarried, unwedded mother. I don't know for a fact. So LaShonda's looking it up. Thank you very much. I don't know the facts right now. The real reason I don't know the facts is because it's one of my favorite drunk history stories. And when you watch drunk history stories, what you get out of the story is the tiki more than you get the details that you need to get. And I need to grow up. But
so I can give you the details on that one. I'll pull up her name because I know I have it because it was a part of my Black History boot camps that I was doing earlier in the summer. But she was a teenage girl, dark skinned, and she wasn't, I don't know if she was knowingly pregnant right at the time, but as everything started happening, I believe that was a discovery later that she was pregnant. And not only was she pregnant, but she was pregnant by one of the white men that was actually in like the activists and trying to work with people. Like that was a whole nother thing. Like this was this well-intentioned white man who was a part of like helping to support and helping to help in the movement. And he was having a relationship and sex with a 14, 15-year-old girl. So that's a part of
And so it got a
And
little worse than my memory.
it's even worse, but like it ended up being in Rosa Parks. So like when activists were called about having this, you know, coming in support of this young girl, because basically she and her friends were on the bus, and we all have, you know, teenagers and have had kids, so we know how this works, right? Because no different, I'm sure, in that time than it is in now. You know, they're on the bus and they sat down wherever they sat down, and it wasn't even that she sat at the front of the bus. I think she went to a certain point of the bus and a white lady got on the bus, and the only place for the white lady to sit was in a seat that was directly across from her. And she sat down in the seat and then told the bus driver to make this girl move. And it was basically the white woman just didn't even want to sit in the seat that was across from her because she didn't even want to look at her. And so when the bus driver told the young lady to move, she said, I ain't moving. And so at that point, she kind of put her foot down and was like, no, I'm not going. And ended up being dragged off the bus and that whole 9 yards, like the whole thing. And so Rosa Parks and what she did, honestly, the story is that what Rosa Parks did was supposedly paying homage to this young girl because she seen her do it before her. And the girl, there's stories and there's all kinds of conversations. Like she said in the time that she understood why Rosa Parks, Claudette Colvin.
I knew it was Claudette. It was in my head, but I know the last name.
Claudette Colvin. So on March 2nd, 1955, Colvin, a 15-year-old girl, boarded a bus on her way home from school. And on that ride, she changed the course of history by refusing to give up her seat to a white woman. Her actions set motion to the legal battle. Dr. Martin Luther King made his political debut fighting her arrest. And then she became one of the plaintiffs in the first federal court case to challenge the bus segregation in the city of Montgomery.
What's her last name again? Colette what?
Colvin, Colvin. But like there's, it's interesting because she lived for a long time. And, she was younger than Rosa Parks. So she lived even longer than Rosa Parks. Like, Rosa Parks was getting all of this honor and stuff, and she was still around. She said that she understood why it needed to be that. And we've talked about this before, like that whole proximity to whiteness. Rosa Parks was lighter skinned. Rosa Parks, had a certain way that she carried her. There was all of these things that went into why Rosa Parks was the acceptable person to be the face of this struggle. But there's even a story about how, I think in Montgomery, when they were establishing the museum that's in honor of Rosa Parks, they contacted Claudette Colvin and were like, we need to have something that represents you as a part of this museum. She said, well, you don't need me. She said, because you already know the history of you already named this museum the Rosa Parks Museum.
Too late.
She said, you already know the history. What you need from me?
I'm telling you.
And there is a movement that they're trying to push for to get more representation of her at the National History African American Museum.
And they need to. And I think one of the things that we need to sit with as Black women is a 15-year-old Black woman pregnant by a white man
that was
raped. That was rape.
Yep.
By the definitions of human trafficking, a minor does not have the power to consent.
Yep.
But more importantly, a Black woman in that era also didn't have authentic power to consent if she were an adult or a minor. And so when we talk about abolishing the whole system, that respectability politic that we use to tell a narrative for history is the reason that we keep failing. It is because we can't commit a wrong act amidst our right act and expect it all to be a right act. A negative and a positive don't make a positive. And anything that you hid because the original bravery came from someone who was carrying a rape baby. Like, we got to start calling a thing a thing. Go find Ayanla's half wig and put it on the side of my head and call a thing a thing.
Yep.
And the reason why we continue to fail in movement work is because when we fuck up, instead of going back to the drawing board and starting over, we keep the parts of the poisonous fruit as the soil fertilizer. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? Like it ends up being the thing that poisons the well. And we haven't done anything to change that behavior. We're still doing it right now. We're still allowing governments to create these spaces to pretend like something's going to happen, and it's not going to happen.
And I think there's something to be said there, right? About like the stuff that hasn't died in our community. And is that whole like, okay, we deserve these equalities and this equitable treatment, but we got to make sure we got everything in order to do that. No. Being treated like human and being treated a certain way doesn't matter.
You don't have to prepare for that at all. There's no preparing for being treated like what you are, a human being.
So there's that caution in that story. The other caution, and right now it's painful in some cases, is the caution of the well-intentioned woke white person.
Lord Jesus.
Because,
I'm so tired.
Oh my gosh. What do I do? What can I do? I just want to know what
not
to
even
do.
that one, but okay, so they start there. Then there's the one that like by the time you look up, they smudging sage, they got on a head wrap,
Yes.
and I'm like, can I get you to be in the middle? Like, I don't need you coming back and questioning my blackness because I was born with this.
Walking up to you talking about Ashe. Hold on, Susan.
Right.
There's so like there's a fine line, right? Like there's the I don't need and it's a struggle, right? We all want to try and do the work and do the right work. So there's the I don't want to have to talk you and walk you through every single thing that it takes in order for you to do the work. Go do the work. Go read a book. Go use the Google. That's what I got to do. I got to maneuver my way through your life by using those tools. You go do the same thing.
Well, I want to shout out to my white friends because my white friends didn't tell me none of that. They just told me about some of their white friends. And then my other friends told me about their white friends. But my white friends pretty much knew that I wasn't going to walk them through whatever. And they was pretty well informed and pushing the word. So I'm proud of my white friends.
them the ones you need. Like, go do the work. By the way, go check your friends on social media. Don't let me like, and I know I had to pull myself back on social media. I start arguing with somebody and I'm like, this ain't my Uncle Bob. This your Uncle Bob. You come over here and get your Uncle Bob. I'm not going to argue with your Uncle Bob.
Well, my white friends be fucking up. And I be telling them private.
I be saying, I seen you reading them. I've been seeing, I seen you on somebody else reading somebody.
Let me tell you something. Everybody can catch this drag. My motherfucking besties, my cousins, the white people, somebody that work with me, somebody I used to work with. And it ain't personal. It is a life assignment for me to tell you motherfuckers the truth. And I take it seriously.
She for real because she kind of semi-dragged me. The sister friends, we don't argue with each other because she semi-dragged me earlier on the committee thing, the commission. But
no, it's not a you drag, Camille. See, this is the thing. Everybody's different. Your ass is more optimistic than me. I don't believe in none of you motherfuckers. I think everybody's gonna fucking fail. I don't. And I never have. Because early on in my life, I chose a mantra. Expect nothing from anyone, and then I'll never be let down. And that shit saved my life. So when you come to me and say, oh, we just started a thing and we really believe it's going to change everything, it's beautiful to hear your energy say that. I'd be like, it's good to hear that somebody in the world believes something can change. But unfortunately, that is not me. I don't think motherfuckers are going to change. I don't think people are going to come out of their comfort zones. I think everybody's going to protect their own personal interests. And that ain't got nothing to do with what color their skin is. I think everybody is in it for themselves. And they will sit through and pretend like they love you, they care about you, But they using you, they are sucking your life force. And so for me, Camille, it don't never always be a drag for you. It be that you actually have expectations and you think people are going to meet them. I don't think anybody's going to meet them. So I show up with the lack of expectations for your benefit, for the benefit of friends of mine that are like this. And that is a defense mechanism, a safety measure for y'all, because I love y'all. But
well, that's all that matters is that you believe in me. And that's what I heard through all of that. You believe in me. As long as you believe in me and you saying that the drag is around everything around it, then that's fine too.
I think you wasn't getting dragged by that. My drags be specific and clear.
I was joking though, anyway.
But I just want to say, because I'm recording this, gonna go live onto podcast.
Oh yeah, don't take me serious when I'm talking to Lysandra. This my girl. Whoever's watching,
but our drags, we have a private drag that's 10 times worse. We'd be like, we ain't doing that.
I gotta go back to the fact that Camille was like, all I heard was you and me. I believe that.
Did she let down my description at all? Did she let down my description? No. I clearly said Camille will find the one good thing in this shit.
And she said I'm the nice one.
Here go me. I'm knocking all this shit over. That's me.
Wait, and then I heard the unsaid words. So Camille heard, she said she believed in me. I heard, look, heifers, y'all on this line, but I'm gonna tell you about yourselves.
Look, this is what I have learned to be true.
Partnership, but
I need that.
No, that's them heifers. The other ones is heifers. You had it right, just not me. That's what she said.
Okay, I have
almost spit out my juice.
I have a funny about the heifers though.
Go ahead.
I got a T-shirt this week, and I'm sure y'all. I think Robin saw it. I posted a picture. So there's a company, Latina girl that has a company called Spicy Fresa, and I got a T-shirt. My homegirl was like, "You have to have this T-shirt. You got your new job," and it says La Jefa, because that's in Spanish. That's the boss. My 16-year-old says, "What does that shirt say?" And I said, La Jefa. She goes, "You said you ain't supposed to say that word. You can't call people that." I said, "Not a heifer, La Jefa." I was like, "Baby, not Ebonics Spanish."
Aww.
And she was like, "Oh."
Her said she thought she was cussing on your shirt. I cuss on my shirts if I can. I love a cussing shirt.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, the baby said, "You said we shouldn't say that. We shouldn't call people that." I said, "That's not the same thing." Bless your heart.
Yeah, but y'all come get this tough love vibe, because I'm telling you right now, like the coach I just mentioned to you, the way she drags me to silence, everybody needs somebody to do this for them. Because she always be like, "Well, why do you do that? Why you keep doing that? Well, why do you do that?" And so sometimes it'd be like, you know how you notice around you these things are happening, and kind of go, this is going back full circle to like the conversation from Robin, right? Where it's like, why is all this shit happening right now? Why are these things showing up right now? It's because them things was there like 3 weeks ago to a month ago, and your ass was ignoring them or pushing them down, saying you're gonna deal with them later. And they gonna come back if you don't deal with them in the front, up top, and right away. And so for me,
drop kick you in the neck,
baby. So would you rather be drop kicked in the stomach by me? You gonna recover from that because you've been doing your little kegels and your little crunches, bitch. Your tummies is tight, or get hit in the throat by them. And so, like, I'm being the middle range of that for people. If I love you, I don't even go off on people or go off about people if there's not love in it. Because if I don't give a fuck, I'm an Aquarius with a Taurus rising. Honey, don't nobody not give a fuck as good as an Aquarian Taurus. I'm sitting here looking at you like,
I'll just talk that in there right now.
So what you gonna do? You gonna cry or some shit? Let me know when you're done crying, because it's some shit to do. And And
It
that's
be
my
so
energy.
funny because she just be so looking like disinterested.
Wait, it's so funny that you say that
My
because
birthday's April 29th, so I'm as Taurus is the Taurus is the Taurus.
and my birthday's May 21st, so I'm a Taurus Gemini cusp, and I swear I don't give a fuck. And when people cry, oh, the look in my
I
face,
don't know
people
what
be
to
like,
do with them. I've gotten better, but I'll be
I
like,
don't
"Woo,
either.
woo, woo, woo."
My hugs are
yeah,
whack. I'm
is
not the
it?
one that's famous for hugging you and helping you let everything go. I'm not that friend. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I'm the
But
person that like cry it out first and then come and vent to me.
then come,
Don't
Oh,
vent to
that's
me and
not
cry.
true, Lysandra.
Camille. On the spectrum of things I'm best to be called for. And let's do the boyfriend things. When your man cheat on you, who you calling first?
I'm not. I
Okay,
don't
you
know.
ain't in that space now. We ain't in that space no more. So like let's do 25-year-old us. And your man cheated on you. Who you calling first?
Okay, so look. So Lysandra, so Lysandra is because we've grown, but Lysandra was like the one, like she's like a sister friend. Like Lysandra is my only roommate that I had in my life, okay, ever. Like no bitches could like ever live with me ever in life, and she was my roommate. And so yeah, like Lysandra, if it was a body ever buried, Lysandra would have helped me bury the body. But
How about the windows in your car?
Didn't we talk about
we was pretty good. And Lysandra was she was a hugger and whatever in there, but um she is kind of tough and rough a little bit, but she do be
It's an
nice when she
exterior.
needs to
It's an
be.
exterior. I'm good. I'm soft and loving and honey and all that shit on the inside. But you don't get none of that shit if
I'm
you
a
ain't
sour
one of my
patch kid.
people.
I'm a sour patch kid. Like I'm sour and then I'm sweet.
Yeah.
Like it's that
Yep,
The the
sour patch.
best reflection
I'm
of me
definitely
is
a
my
sour patch
pets.
kid.
Check out my pets. If you met my pets, I'm just like my pets. Assholes who don't know when to fucking quit. That's me.
I'm probably like a chocolate melting teddy bear.
You have a business with the word peace in it. None of the rest of us on here can even
Not at
have
all.
with the word peace
Not at
in
all.
it.
I'm a whole
Right.
ass mediator, and all you ever hear from me is shit from Senzu.
But
But Lashonda, that's only because of my past. So let
yeah.
me tell you, because of everything that I've been through, all of the people I almost killed, all of the bad boyfriends, all of the deaths and
Bad
everything that I've been
boyfriends.
through. Oh my
Bad
God.
boyfriends.
All the people I
Bad boyfriends.
almost
Oh,
killed.
Jesus.
So the only reason I'm at like this place of zen is because I already flipped out and did all of the crazy things, and I just have so much now. And I realize that when you know things ain't shit, kind of like a lot of this stuff now too, you got to do what you can do and what's best for you. You know how shit
Baby.
is. You know stuff ain't shit. You can't change shit. You can't
That's
change
right.
people. I don't try and change people. You can never change people. It'll never work.
Mm-mm.
I'll try and change like circumstances and stuff. Like if I once I see like I can't change a situation, I'll figure out what I could do to best do what's for me, like my coping mechanism with things. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's best that I, with my temper and things, because I'm real nice. Like I'm the nice one. But when I get mad though, it's like over with. Like Lysandra and nobody can like talk any sense into me. And since I have so many things at stake now, instead of it's not really nice all the time. It's that I know I'll flip out. And then at the end of the day, guess what? They still ain't shit. My blood pressure is up now. Now I ain't at peace. And guess what? They still ain't shit. So
They
it'd be
still ain't
like,
shit.
I just be like, fuck everybody and everything. If it don't benefit to my health,
Yep.
my money, or my happiness, or just like whatever, I just be like whatever. Sometimes stuff get to me. I'm human, of course, but for the most part, to keep me from knocking people heads off or getting that mad, I just be like, oh well, they not important. It's not important. Like nothing is more important, or nothing can like break me down more than like my mom, my son. Like nothing is worse than that. So nothing in life has equated to being worse than that.
Yeah.
Like, and so even with other people's stuff, I don't dismiss people. I don't not mean to not care, but I be like, what's worse though? Like,
What's worse?
what are you like? Some people be complaining about stuff. Like, some people been through stuff too. And that's something different. But some people ain't been through shit and be having everything to complain about. And it be like, dude, your life could be way worse. It's a lot of people way fucked up out here.
Yep.
Like, life is so much shorter. We got so much time. And then, like, I read some a long time ago that was like, all while we stressing out about stuff, you ever realize, like, later when you look back on stuff, like, everything worked itself out, right? So it's like in that
Mm-hmm.
moment of stress, it's so hard, but you got to think like, dude, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Even in all or whatever, like I ain't gonna die from this or whatever. And even in health situations, still, it's always a light, like, So I try to, instead of looking at the bad stuff, because I can't handle like negative stuff because I've had so much, I try and always look at the bright side, even if maybe sometimes it's a cloud, but it helped me get through and had a motivation to get through whatever it is that might have made me not do it or not be able to whatever by looking at it that way. So that's just, you know.
I can relate to that only because I am the Taurus, even though I don't really necessarily believe with like all of the astrological stuff. But there's certain things around just like my personality that falls in
Mm-hmm.
line with what people say, and I'm not going to deny that. But I grew up. I remember being told as a child that like anger is you giving your power away to somebody else, and I have always tried to maintain that, especially in business. Anybody who knew me younger when I was younger and knew I was a high is like, oh, you're so mellow now. And I'm like, no, I know how to check the fact that this isn't going to serve me and it's not going to serve anybody else.
Right.
Putting so much emotion into it. And to your point, Camille, like getting worked up on stuff, like I'm giving all this energy and power to it. And not only in retrospect does it seem menial when I look back, but also whoever's put me in that position, I recognize they sleeping real tidy at night. They sleeping real
And
comfortable.
that take years off. Every time I get mad at something, I think about how it's taking a week off my life or
Mm-hmm.
something. I think about it like that.
I just had my first meeting, like my first team meeting with my team today, where we finally got a chance to like sit down for an hour and kind of do a little bit more in depth, other than kind of like the high level meet and greets and some of the stuff we've been doing. And one of the things I told them, I said, look, the way I manage my team is we won't panic about stuff. Like we're HR. We're supposed to be the adults in the room, even when there's chaos. And I had a
Yep.
leader at another when I was at Rockwell, and she used to be like, look, if I don't do this thing or if this thing doesn't happen, will babies be killed? Will puppies die? If
Mm-hmm.
those two things won't happen, then we're okay and we can figure this out.
Then we're okay.
So like literally, I'm like, at the end of the day, will babies or puppies be killed? No. Okay, then what do we need to do? How do we figure it out? And how do we prioritize? But one
Mm-hmm.
thing I wanted to go back and say, and I put it in the chat, but I wanted to say it because like we were talking about like, hey, if you need to bury a body, who you gonna call? And I did tell LaShondra, by the way, Apple will not tell you anymore where to hide a dead body. They used to. Siri used to be real useful for that. She won't tell you that no more.
It's
But
unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
but
What do I have you for, girl?
but one of the things, and it took me a while to figure it out, but like people talk about having their board of directors or your tribe or whatever. And it's important to not just have people that all fill one seat and all play one role. You can't have 5 people who's cheerleaders, because cheerleaders will be like, girl, I'm gonna go jump off this boat. They'd be like, girl, go jump off the boat. All 5 of them yelling at you, gonna jump off the boat. Won't need 5 cheerleaders. 5 cheerleaders ain't gonna do nothing for you. You also don't need 5 coaches like the Chandra who gonna cuss you out and set you straight, because after a while you're gonna be like, I can't do nothing right. So you need to have a
Mm-hmm.
coach and a cheerleader so that you can at least get yourself some set. You
That's
gotta have
right.
a confidant, because that coach can't always be the person you tell your deepest, darkest secrets to and ask to go help you to hide the body. You need a counselor that's gonna hold you true and like help you with your wellness and remind you that
Mm-hmm.
On an airplane, when there is a loss in oxygen pressure in the cabin, you must affix your own mask before you can help others. And you know, like, you also have to have, like, I should say, you have a confidant who you can tell secrets to, who ain't gonna tell it to nobody. And you can have a conspirator. And sometimes in my life, the confidant and the conspirator have been the same person, but that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
But like, it's the C's, right? You gotta have a coach, you gotta have a cheerleader, you gotta have a confidant, you gotta have a conspirator, and you gotta have a counselor.
Yep.
And those roles sometimes will change, and the people that are in those seats sometimes will change. But like, my strongest tribe has been making sure I got those seats filled.
That's real good. That's real good right there. And I think we're trying
Yeah.
to hold on to that, because I think we need to have a mentorship conversation for specifically this relationship to Black women and mentorship in the professional space being a huge challenge, because my experiences with, so I had 5 public allies in my role at organization I used to work for. And those 5 public allies were all Black young people, and they were looking for mentorship, career mentorship. So they weren't looking for like somebody to go just like bullshit with and get a free meal and listen to that person talk about their life, right? They wanted to really figure out where they were going, right? So I had 3 women, 2 men. I said, all right, Black men, here go the 2 men. Y'all got them? Well, they hit me with the brothers keeper fast, baby. Like, they was like 2 of them took them under their wing, and 2 more took them under their wing. And we got, some of them got 3 and 4 mentors. You know, brothers are stepping up because, you know, I don't know what some of them motherfuckers did in a daily job responsibility. Because I would always be like, why y'all got so much time to mentor these goddamn, okay, thank you. You know, no complaints, but y'all are available as a motherfucker. And so there's that group, right? Black women. So I tried it 3 ways and was not successful. I tried, you ladies, tell me who you want to be paired with. Give me a list, 3 or 4. None of the people that they gave me were available. Asked for another group. None of them were available. So I tried another way. I was like, what if we have a networking gathering and we invite all of those women? What did I get? Mostly a room full of white women. That, because I couldn't say in a job, we only looking for Black people, you know what I'm saying? But these young ladies were looking for a Black woman because they wanted to the mentorship of the things that you deal with as a Black woman to be wrapped into this initial conversation. What to do when people call you aggressive, what to do when people say you got a bad attitude. Those things don't go well when it's the white girl who looked just like the white girl who told you that shit because she just didn't like the fact that you told her that she didn't know how to do her goddamn job in front of somebody else. So now it became a thing, right? So like the traumas of what you've experienced in jobs, you were looking for this specific kind of Black woman. And in this role, there were some Black women that they could have chosen from that would have been great, but nobody was available. And so I talked to some of these women myself afterwards. Some of them weren't available on some, I've already got 6 mentors. That was the first problem.
That's common.
Right?
That's common.
Plenty of them. And all of them had mid-career mentors. So they didn't have capacity for early career mentors. So this is a real conversation that we need to have amongst Black women. And that is, how do we get mid-career Black women connected to entry-level Black women in a comparable workspace for them to manage and navigate some of these challenges? Because for me, I had access, but I was already the middle career professional. So of course they wanted to mentor me. It wasn't a hard lift. It was like, well, you know, the mentorship that I give you, I can do that because you ain't got no time either. So shit, we trying to figure out how to put something on the calendar to get drinks. The shit don't happen, but we end up at some professional event together and we just get a drink after. And then that's how we end up doing it, right? But I'm already there. I'm already at these networking events. I'm already at these women's organization gatherings and getting the wine afterwards at the bar down at the Pfister lobby. So like we're doing those things afterwards.
Are you semi-stunned? Are you semi-stunned on us?
It's definitely not
I
a
do
stun.
that. She said she
LaShonda's
got VIP.
Shonda's out here on the same hustle, and
Yeah, I got that VIP. I got VIP too. Okay.
shut your ass up, Camille. The point I'm making is my babies couldn't find no mentor. They couldn't find no mentor. So I'm their boss. What I couldn't do is be their supervisor and their mentor at the same time.
Yep.
It wasn't productive. It wasn't possible. Ideally, I would have been a great mentor for them because I was the middle management level. I was in that category, and I could have been like, be my wingman at this networking event so you can meet some people so they'll know who you are, right? That side of mentorship that we all need to be working on, not because of anything other than if, you could call it, doing things where God sees it and no one else does, or you can call it karma, doing good and good coming back to you. However you articulate it, if you are not mentoring, you won't get the good mentors. If you're not out there pushing the relationship to help somebody when you see them struggle and pull them under your wing or pull them into your sage wisdom, whatever the pull in is, if you don't do that in moments when it matters, then the big aha mentor don't come to you. Because my best mentors don't look like me. My best mentors is white men with bow ties. But I have Black women in mentorship relationships that are more advanced than me for the grounding, for the moments when I want to be calling in Black to work, for the times when I'm like, I don't know if I can keep doing this, sis. And some of them, like one of my favorite older ones, she retired, so she old school. And whenever I would call her panicking, I don't even call her panicking no more. She was like, do me a favor, baby. Can you run over into the kitchen and turn the lights on? I turned the lights on. She was like, did they work? I said, yeah. She'd be like, ain't that a blessed girl? Do me another favor. Run over to the heat or the air. Turn it up or turn it down. Yes, ma'am, I did it. Okay, did you feel the fans come on? Your shit work, huh? So like, when you get that, like, that's a different mentoring, right? Her saying that to me was, don't let this shit go till you figure out how to keep them light switches working and them fans turning on. And like the grounding that comes from that kind of a mentor, and that is, again, you use C's, I use like this 4-corner approach in my brain. The type of things that keep me grounded, that I, if I drilled stakes into the ground to keep me on the ground grounded, is about 4 mentors. And I carry that as a constant thing, but I also don't have a craving for a mentor anymore because I know mentorship is very fluid for me at this stage of my career. So it's like, I can get mentorship from y'all. I can get mentorship from anybody because I'm in this know thyself stage where it's like my title means nothing. My job is not what determines whether or not I can get from point A to point B. Like now I'm at a phase of life where it's like, why am I doing this? What is my purpose? What am I supposed to be listening to? What's the next move? And we don't have that naturally as women that are coming up in this country as Black, because we're solving so many problems that are like, Band-Aids on wounds everywhere, right? We're doing that all over the place so much that this ain't happening in our day-to-day, but it needs to be. And we need to figure out how to amplify and elevate this conversation about mentorship for Black women and put it into this virtual space. Because I think, I started this podcast to figure it out. I don't think I had like a specific vision. I was just like, let's just have conversations and see what comes out of it. But this mentorship thing needs to happen. And it needs to be something that Black women participate in, because we've been doing this sporadically, some Wednesdays, some not. I have not put all of the stuff on the podcast because some of it was like culture building, relationship building, connecting, all that kind of stuff. But, where are we headed with this is really what I keep thinking about. Like, what's the value in programming this and in a very intentional way? And I think the mentorship piece has to be a part of it.
Well, I think that's a good idea, but I also got jokes or something funny to lighten up the tone talking about mentorship and who needed some damn mentorship today, who I seen.
Oh, who
So I
did? I would love to know.
girl, so I'm watching Homer Blow today,
Oh, Lord.
live, during the Homer Blow radio show. And he shows this video. It's these women and they were out campaigning for somebody, y'all. Campaigning. And they went and pulled up at somebody's house who had beef while they was out campaigning, right? And they was about that life. Oh, they was about that life, right? About that life. Somebody pulled out a gun and somebody was like, shoot me, bitch. Talking so much stuff, y'all. Cash money, right? One of them was talking so crazy, right? Them gunshots rang out, y'all, right? And y'all know that gun violence and none of that shit is funny to me or whatever. Somebody got shot, they were alive. Nothing was funny about that. But what was funny and that I could not leave, I couldn't just skip past in the video is that one of them chicks who was talking cash money shit, like one of the top hood rats,
Top hood rat.
she fainted, y'all. She fainted. She fainted. She was like, bitch, shoot me, shoot me. And then after she came to, after she fainted, she had her hands up, like, when they be like, hands up, don't shoot. Like the
No.
police, she had her hands up, like that was gonna stop whoever was shooting. Y'all, she needed some mentorship. When I tell y'all I wouldn't let it go, that girl fainted after she was talking all that shit, that was so funny to me. I just couldn't believe she fainted. I think I might go back to Homer Blow and I don't want to see the other parts and stuff. And I didn't see nothing graphic. And I do know that whoever they was okay. It seemed like wasn't nobody, I don't think, deceased. And I hope that did nobody end up, getting fatally shot. But that chick fainted. She fainted. She
This
was talking
motherfucker
so
fainted.
crazy. And you know what? If she wasn't talking so crazy, it might not have even been so funny. But she fainted. She fell all the way to the ground. She was
This
laid out.
goes to my favorite line, which is everybody think they're about to get punched in the face by Mike Tyson.
The greatest quote. I can't tell you how much my man say that shit. It's his favorite line. And it's also my favorite line because it's so
It's so
true.
true. It's so
It's
true.
so true.
Everybody a G. You get smacked in the face by Mike Tyson, you be like, okay, so
Maybe.
maybe not. Maybe not.
I think I
Listen,
was wrong.
I'm pretty sure I was wrong, and I want my mama
I
now.
was wrong. But that's like, I agree that we got all these challenges that we need to deal with. And I don't know how we about to deal with them. But yes, your sister does need some mentoring. Young lady who could out here
And
starting shit.
the hardest part for me about that is kind of a couple things that you said though, Lashandra. One, I've had some of the best relationships and best mentors from Black women. I've also had some of the worst because
Yes.
there are so few of us that I have had situations where I'm like, I'm not trying to take your job. I'm just trying to get a job and I'm trying to learn from you. And I don't feel like this is healthy. And I feel like we're in an abusive relationship. So we're going to need to break up. So there's that. The other part of it is because so few of us will raise our hands and say, yes, I'll mentor somebody. It ends up being that everybody's overextended because
That's
we're
right.
getting phone calls from everybody because there's only so many of us to go around. So there's that. And three, I think people like discount what you get being a mentor for somebody else because there is so much self-reflection, there is so much self-awareness, and there is so much like, holy crap, I'm telling somebody else this and I need to remind myself of it. That
Yeah.
goes into those conversations that you have. That it ends up like I've done formal, I've done informal, you know, I did the Goodwill, the Donald Driver mentorship program last year. And like that one was pretty cool because they matched me with somebody who I never would have like been like, yep, I need to go have a mentorship. She was a woman of color. Um, she actually is Korean, but you know, it's one of those situations where it was just like we had so many things that you would think we were so far apart, but like our conversations and what we were able to do and accomplish and work through was even better because we complemented each other so well by the things that she had that were her strengths versus the things that I had that were my strengths. And so it worked really well. But I mean, that's one of the things that I think people discount is the value that you get as a mentor out of that relationship.
That's
It's
right.
not only for the mentee, it's for you as the mentor as well. You can grow from that too. So I mean, that's one of the things. And I always want to help people. Like everybody wants to call me or send me questions, especially when they got an HR question. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yep, I can try and answer that. Or, nope, I ain't done that part of HR in a long time. There's a reason I don't do that part. There's
Mm-hmm.
a reason why I make sure I got somebody on my team who's really good at that so I don't have to deal with it.
Yes. And that's a whole entire category in professionalism that we all need a mentor in, because there is nothing wrong with going to get somebody that know how to do some shit that you don't know how to do, so that you can focus on your talents. And we don't always have a good way of helping people do that. Such a layered conversation on that issue, because often the problem is I got a really good person helping me do that thing. So if I give you my person, then I lose access to my person when I need it.
Oh
And I
yeah.
ain't trying to get that shit up. And it's hard to find a second or third person that's good at it. Because if it was, hell, I probably hire them too. Because then
Well,
I would have them to help me grow what I'm doing and free me up some more to be on some new shit. And it takes a level of selflessness to even get to that place where you can be the mentor that someone really needs you to be, while also looking at it as an opportunity to grow your network, because the more that they can take on, the more that they can bring this collaborative thing together. And
yep.
that's what we really all think we want to do, but I think we really do want to do. Some of us don't realize how much it would change our lives if we just did it.
Yep. Well, and from a you know, boss and, you know, employee kind of standpoint, so frequently I find it so crazy how managers look at their employees as like this proprietorship. Like to your point, like I have this person that does this thing really good on my team and I can't lose them. Instead of looking at it from a networking capacity of, I have this person on my team and they're growing their skills and at some point they may outgrow them, but they can be
Mm-hmm.
my company or they can be a testament to my leadership. And
Yep.
how is it that they can, you know, how is it a reflection on me and my leadership even
Yeah.
because that person goes on and does something awesome. Like I had people when I posted that I was taking the role at Collectivo, I had somebody who posted and I don't even think she recognizes the role she played in my decision to actually go into HR. She posted a picture from when I was in college and I
Mm.
worked in a temp, like I used to pick up temp jobs over the summer. I picked up a temp job working in this HR department, and she was kind of like the person that was assigned to me. I was just supposed to be there to answer phones. I was supposed to be the receptionist. And like she would see me and I'd be bored and I'd be like, do you need me to do anything else? Like, I got time, let me do something else. And she would give
Mm-hmm.
me more. After that summer, I went back to school and changed my minor to HR because I had gotten just enough of a taste of it
Mm-hmm.
to be like, this seems kind of interesting. She posted something on Facebook like congratulating me for my role and was like, I always knew you would go on and do great things, and posted a picture because I went back to that company and worked like in customer service thanks to her. Like while I was making my way through college, while I was working customer service and working as a barista, I used to work like 5 jobs in college, but she hired me back to do that knowing that I needed work or whatever. But like she posted that picture and was like, I always knew you'd go on to do great things. And I'm like, I don't even know if she knows that she's the reason that I ended up going into HR.
And often the mentors that we have model such behavior that they don't even know that they've become your mentor.
You
Like I
gotta
have,
let her know one day.
I literally.
you
Well, and
do.
it's crazy. I mean, like even with like the hiring process for this, they call and do, references. And I gave a couple of my prior bosses who I consider mentor, one of which is even younger than me, but she's gone on and done some amazingly dope things, black woman as well. But it was so funny because she called me. She's like, "Yep, they called for your reference." She said she tried to ask me some questions. She said, but I already had my elevator pitch ready and I gave her everything that I had because I already knew how awesome you were. And by the time I got done, she said, I don't have any more questions. She said, I didn't think you would. You have a good day, sis. Bye. Like,
So
and
dope.
then her next comment to me was, get your offer and make sure you counter. Like that's just how she plays. She is
Yeah.
and she is my person that if I do have questions about compensation, because that's not my forte, like I know enough to be dangerous, but she's the person where I'm like, okay, so here's what I got. Here's what I think I need to do. Does this sound right? Like she's a chess player when it comes to that stuff. But like literally I can show you a text message. She was like, yep. Did your reference told them all the stuff that I've already told you about how awesome you are? Congratulations on your new job. They should be calling you shortly with an offer and make sure you counter.
For
You
sure.
know what? I think sometimes it's good. So like for me, when I help others, I feel happy that I could be like, for me coming up, like my friends and my friends' moms filled the gap, but it's like some stuff that I had to like learn on my own. And so it feels good for me to be able to tell somebody who, especially people who went through what I went through too, like that I understand. Cause a lot of times it's only certain people who understand and you don't even be trying to hear whatever because, so I feel good that I could help somebody with, that part of it with not having a mom or whatever and let them know certain things about that. And then just with my journey, just in life and my experiences and or in work or whatever, is good. It feels good to be able to help somebody where somebody did not try and help somebody every place that somebody didn't help me and where I see, that they could use it. And then for me, it's it helps me with my growth per se because the people who I look to and do the run bys and run and see if it sounds good, like lately for me, I realized that I can still do that with them, but maybe I grow to another part of my journey because I've been doing everything almost like to the point where they like, oh, well, you got it. Well, you got it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay. So I'm getting it, to where sometimes we unsure or whatever we going through or whatever. And we run these things by and we be good after a certain point. And I don't know everything. So I'm
Right.
still learning and I'm still taking it in. But it get to a point where certain stuff, I'm confident that I have certain things down to where I can move and grow somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think we gotta have that conversation as another
Whole
intentional
different.
podcast,
Yeah.
like maybe doing like a mentoring Monday approach to like kind of have a couple. What I would love to see happen is um, some senior level women, some mid level women, and some entry level women intentionally put in the same space for conversations about their experience and whatever, like, so like this like micro mentoring that can happen in that space between people that are in those categories and putting them into groups in the Zoom on purpose to be able to give them an opportunity to like hash this out a little bit more in small groups of three. But I think we should start doing this mentoring Monday thing. I think it's a smart thing to add because by and large these groups that we get on this Wednesday are mostly women, and we're all in various spots in our careers, and we could be very intentionally helping each other while also adding some of the women that we've got these really like authentic relationships with that we might actually meet up in a regular like environment and go to get drinks with. Like, how can we still hold this space around how hard it's been to work and how hard it's been to not have a shared space to talk about the difficulties and challenges of showing up and what's next. So, what's next conversation should be what we're all about right now. All the aha moments that you can have, all the I didn't think of this way, all the silver linings in the cloud of COVID, all the ways that the racism being exposed has now allowed you to function differently. Like for me, there's a lot of things that I don't really give a fuck about anymore because of the political and racist environment that we're in. So
And
I
because I'm
will
42
not,
years old and I don't have time for that.
baby, that 43 hit different. So like for me, it's like I'm a cuss,
Grown.
baby. I'm a cuss. And let me tell you why I'm a cuss. Because I got brilliant, wise mentors, leaders, supporters, and relationships with folks that cuss like shit. And those people have been better for me than the ones that have used the respectability politic in how they think I should show up. But the ones that, and again, not everybody.
People who cuss are more intelligent. Scientists say that.
I mean, it's there's
I
data
trust
that
the
supports it.
scientists.
There's
One
Listen
week
to
I'm
the
gonna wear my
doctors.
t-shirt just for you, Lashandra. You know I got the one I told you before. I got my t-shirt that says I love Jesus, but I cuss a little.
I need one that says I cuss a lot.
And I think that's what you said the last time we had.
Or flip the shirt and say, because of my love of Jesus, y'all got me cussing. Because I wouldn't be cussing so much if you wouldn't act like that.
It's expressive art.
I say I love all of God's children. I just can't stand some of them sometimes.
Some of you motherfuckers. So like the core thing is you gotta have, like, when I think about the way that I show up now, I remember there was a point in my career when me cussing would make me be like, oh my God, what do people think of me? Am I a bad person to them? Did I do something that hurt people's feelings that I shouldn't be doing? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I hope this doesn't impact me for the rest of my life. Okay.
And I was always unorthodox.
Baby. And so like the piece of my life that stopped putting that as a priority, because growing up in a religiously strict family, there was a point in my life when what others thought of me was more important, not because it was more important to me, but it was more important to the structure that I belonged to. And I don't cuss at my mama. So let me be clear. I say cuss words, but I don't cuss in front of my mama, because my mama raised me not to cuss, even though every now and then she cussed. She wasn't a big cusser. She still ain't a big cusser, because now she a grandma. So now she's fully adopted the Mr. Rogers energy.
Have y'all
But
noticed this COVID cussing? Like
what's that?
meetings and certain stuff like have gotten like really cussy lately in the world of COVID. Like people, some of that.
I think that shit got us where it's like, and here go a more important thing. When you got the type of national leadership that we have, I dare you motherfuckers to expect me to do anything based on what is allowed by who is the head of this country. Because these motherfuckers can lie to your face, like blatantly say, yeah, we not gonna push this nomination because of the election year, and you can hold it against me when you want to. And then motherfuckers said,
you hold it against me.
These motherfuckers looked at y'all and did what exactly
Push the envelope as soon as they got off the mic.
So like for me, it's like I ain't got time for this shit. Y'all lie all the time. Y'all, and you heathenists, you cheat on your wives, you be gay in the closet, you be running around this motherfucker judging people that are gay while being gay in the closet.
They like little girls too.
I'm not finna censor, because censorship has been taken away when y'all made it clear that all of the shit that y'all did in this racist ass country was on purpose. Honey, baby, we got so much to talk about with that powder dry comment from Mitch McConnell. Now, when I heard it, because I didn't know no facts, right? So I just asked myself, I was like, what's this keep your powder dry shit this motherfucker keeps saying in this goddamn press release? So I look it up, and it was about gunpowder. I didn't want to make an assumption, but keeping the gunpowder dry is basically around like if you ain't putting your hand in it and getting it wet to start using it, you haven't started shooting yet. And once it gets wet, it's no longer operable. So I understand what he was saying clearly. And I also understand the era from in which it was stated comes from a nation that still had slavery. So at the core, when you say keep your powder dry to a nation that was fighting for slavery when y'all coined that statement, you ain't saying nothing new. You're saying what you meant. And what's different today than in the past is we don't have to like go find our Encyclopedia Britannica on the bottom shelf and go look up gunpowder dry and hope it's got a clear definition. We can hit the Google and the Google gonna give us the fucking origin story. Even if it's slightly inaccurate, we'll be able to just keep deeper diving with a couple of statements and sentences with a new search and find what we're looking for. We can end up in Searchosaurus or in Sage Publishing or some shit and find some articles. And that's something we couldn't do in the past, right? So I'm sitting here listening to the narratives. I don't owe y'all shit, is what the narratives taught. I don't owe y'all shit. I don't have to be operating in any of these respectability politics. And baby, you're going to accept the things I am good at, and you are going to run me my coins for those things, and you are going to mind your business after. And that's how this is going to go. And I think this is a place where we get to be now because of the nation that we live in and the curtain that has been taken away. There is no hiding what this place is anymore. There's no pretending like this place did not intentionally design itself the way it's functioning. So you gonna hear me cuss. But if I can't do shit else, at least I can offend you motherfuckers as many times as I possibly can. So we done had a whole lot of fun. I want to end on a ratchet note. So we got two choices. Which ratchet thing do we want to talk about? Do we want to talk about how confused we are about what's happening with Lovecraft Country or Cardi B's divorce? Which one do we want to end with?
So I'm going to say right now, I have to watch Sunday's episode of Lovecraft Country. No, I did watch it.
I haven't even watched it. I haven't watched it at all yet.
I did watch Sunday's
Or
episode.
this Valley show.
So here's what I need us to do. We need to have a conversation about Lovecraft Country on purpose.
Yes.
But everybody has to at least have seen it for that conversation to be effective. LaShonda and I are in deep. Robin, have you seen it?
She done dozed off.
She done went to night-night.
Tunde, you have to make sure
right. Because then she put me on to the podcast that happens after every one of the shows happens. Yep. So we have to watch the last episode if we haven't seen it, all the episodes if you ain't seen them yet.
And you don't have that much to catch up on, Camille, because it's
only like five.
Yeah, we're on like the 5th or 6th episode, maybe.
Yeah, it's only 5 shows, but it's nonstop. Like the show is like always going. So you're gonna love the show. That's not gonna be a problem. So we're not gonna talk about that because we don't all have context, but we do have context on the Cardi B divorce.
Kind of, but
so let's have a non-context context, basically. Okay. Like we ain't there. But let's who wants to start the narrative on the conversation about the divorce of my beloved child from that less than standard husband?
No, I would say I lack context because I have a 16-year-old who pays way too much attention to the lives of rappers and singers and reality show people. And I'm like, are any of these people chipping in on bills in this house?
They're definitely not. That's
understand
definitely not happening.
why I care. And so I get so detached from some of that stuff. Um, but then every once in a while, I'm like, I hear stuff enough where I'll be like, oh, lady, let me go use the Google because something's happening and everybody's talking about it. And then I get sucked in and I need to know, like, I go back to like, but what nail color was she wearing when we had this conversation? Because I detail, I start digging, I start digging. So I don't know enough, but I do know that yeah, they're a hot mess, and that's all I can confirm. And so I'm not surprised. That's what I'll say. That whole, like, everything I've heard of what I know has been nothing but like hot boiled, like mushy, kind of smelly, and like really. And so
Well, I saw a video that she put out. I don't know what happened. I heard a lot of different things. I thought a lot of different things. But what I think at the end of the day is that she grown. She said she wasn't happy. She said it wasn't because of cheating or whatever. So whatever, based off of what she said she wasn't happy. She said it just was bad. And so I feel like at the end of the day, if that's what needed to be done for everybody to be happy and at peace, maybe that's what's best. I feel like everybody got a say so in it. Everybody is saying all of these different things, but she rich. Her and her baby gonna be straight, and he's probably going to take care of the kid. He's trying to fight her for the kid, and so hopefully he'll continue to take care of his kid. And at the end of the day, we not raising that baby. They got to deal with that. And I think that I don't know. I be paying attention and peeping stuff, and I'll have conversations about whatever, but I won't be in all out arguments like how people being about this. Like they don't pay our bills, they not in our house. Um, and so I guess at the end of the day, when I think about all of the different things, you could say you can't make a hoe a housewife. You could say he ain't shit or whatever, and we not surprised or whatever. But for whatever, they found something, they created a life, and now that baby is here. And that's really all that matter at the end of the day is how they take care of that baby. And I think they both
That's
got enough
right.
money to take care of that baby.
I have very similar views. Robin, I'll leave room for you. I don't know if Robin is still with us. Is you with us?
I would say, don't say it like that though. That sounds real, real.
Yeah, I do. But her probably night night. Her probably fall asleep.
I'm sure.
Um, so for me, so again, you have to first believe in the institution of marriage in a way that you believe it is a means to an ends, like it that it matters in relationships in the way that it does to others for you, and it doesn't for me. And for very particular reasons, I personally believe that no matter how much we like to Christian up marriage, it's a business deal. And um, it is not about the love of God and making us one in this nation on paper at all. So, like, we can say all these things in a ceremony, but at the end of the day, this is taxes being combined. This is business ownership being combined. This is liabilities and responsibilities being combined. It's a business. And any other nation that we look at, marriage is something where women don't get to choose. Marriage is something where marriages are arranged. Men don't get to choose also in those cases too, to be quite fair. But um, women are entering marriages in an arranged format in most other countries. There are dowries that are supposed to be illegal in a lot of countries, but the dowries that occur around marriage make it where I have a very skewed viewpoint of what marriage is because I don't want to be a transaction. So when I think about marriage, just know, put all that into the thought process of what I'm going to say. So, from my perspective, I never liked him for her. only because I don't believe in married couples working together. I don't believe in them doing the exact same thing with each other side by side every day. Here's why I don't believe that. Because I think if you're going to be partnered, there should be a counter complementary characteristic. And if I'm a rapper and you're a rapper, and we're both rapping on the same label, we're not probably an authentic relationship. We're probably just a mutually beneficial relationship until we're not. And I don't see her staying in the box that the Migos are in because she is doing international music, she's traveling, and the travel is for her. His travel's different. Like, they're not exactly the same thing, right? And in the very beginning of any go together, it burns hot. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I was starting to see it burn less hot, right? Like you were seeing things that were about her, which is not bad. I think we did a shitty job with this whole comparison of her creating a song called WAP and that having to do with losing a husband. Let me be clear about some things. Having good pussy does not guarantee your dumb ass is gonna keep a man. As a matter of fact, good pussy ratio is high as a bitch. So there's a great chance that the side bitch that's fucking your husband, girl, her pussy is way better than yours, sis. Not because yours doesn't have the capacity to be better, but because she uses that motherfucker before more than you do. You out here using it on one motherfucker, she using it on four. She is a side bitch to three other motherfuckers and your husband. So that coochie exercises. It's got a plan. It goes to the gym. You know what I'm saying? You over here just kind of like fucking him when he come home out of some like it's my duty because that's my husband. So like that shit cannot be the reason why any woman is getting left because these coochies is out here for everybody. These dicks is out here for everybody. Let me not just make it about one. So everybody is out here fucking. So when we talk about it from that perspective, right? People are foolish because if marriage was about sex, we would be talking about a different thing. Marriage is about business. Okay? So, and let's be clear, this is a wild child girl. So it definitely ain't just about her coochie because at the end of the day, she welcomes other motherfuckers into her bed. So everybody that's talking about it is that category of folks that I can't stand. And it's the folks who always got something to say about somebody based on the way everybody else wants them to look. Meanwhile, while you sitting here trying to drag Cardi B, it's a white bitch on the border taking all the money from your credit card as we speak.
You trying to hit all the levels of ratchet right now.
We were so philosophical and intelligent earlier. I felt like I owed the world some ignorance.
Oh, and
but I love to bring this kind of stuff back because we need to stop putting people on pedestals for this respectability politic thing. Like we have got to stop putting and keyholing most especially Black women into being perfect. It is unfair, it's unrealistic, and I ain't nowhere near nobody's perfect. Don't want to be. I'm perfectly me, I guess, whatever the fuck that means. But that's gotta go. That's gotta go. And
yeah, and I think a lot of Black mothers and just some mothers, period, even not Black, got deemed as single mothers when they had another person in the household. They just weren't married.
Like that's somebody said when I said something about it right away, like, oh, so we're glorifying single mothers. I was like, why does it have to be glorification if we're just calling out that it's fine if she gets a divorce? It's not glorification. It's just the truth. And I'm not celebrating one or the other. If something happened in my relationship that I have been in for many, many years, where we decided we were going to get married, I think most of you motherfuckers would laugh at us. at this point, not because we don't love each other, not because we don't want to be together, not because we don't have a healthy relationship, but because motherfucker, don't nobody care. Your ass has been married since I don't know what year, but a long ass time ago. And we don't care. If you just wanted to have a party, then say that. And that's what I think I would get from my friends if I tried to get married, right? But that's not what I need right now. So, and not to mention, I don't want to have no parties because Rona, but like ultimately, this mentality is the thing that I think we need to figure out how to deal with. And that is if I don't follow the American starter pack, I am still fine. And if I move on, like she's moving on, and it don't have to be this like big scandal because she ain't came out saying he cheated on me or nothing. If I just move on because I move on, what is that? It's just what I'm doing. And my energy is really around that. Like I am always happy to see that a black woman feels liberated enough to just say, no, it's no beef. He cool. You know, we got a kid together. That's great. He's a good man in like some other categories. I just don't want to be married to this motherfucker no more. And that's it. It don't have to be that some spectacle occurred. Sometimes motherfuckers is just not jamming no more. And I kind of foresaw that because he didn't seem smart to me. You know what I'm saying? You feel the way you want to about her grammar and all that shit. She's fluent in other languages, and so sometimes she fucks up conjugation and shit, and that's fine. But she always had something to say. You know what I'm saying? I could barely understand that motherfucking husband she had. Making weird noises like R2D2. And then, you know, sitting there watching TV next to her or doing something like excessively vulgar. Like I like a little fun, you know what I'm saying? But all this the PDA was a little hardcore for me. It screamed ownership more
Choreographed.
than it screamed we love each other. Cause let me tell you something. I'm not a PDA girl. The Aquarius Taurus in me, the Aquarius, whatever the fuck we want to do. Aquarius, whatever, that doesn't work. Anyway, the Aquarius and Taurus rising in me is very much a don't nobody that's nobody's business. We're gonna keep that inside the house. When we get in the house though, we can get it popping. But while we outside, that's private. We don't need everybody to see that. That's just how I am. So knowing that I'm not a PDA person, like you wouldn't catch me and my man at the club or at a bar or out doing some of the things that they would have done.
Yep.
But I also think, you know, she's young and wild right now, so it's fun for a minute. But I think after a while, you'd be like, damn, nigga, chill. You know, and I think that's really the energy that she came to. And I think that's the conversation that needs to be elevated. That it's okay to grow out of things. It's okay to grow away from things, and we shouldn't be looking for ways to fight that.
Yeah.
That's my baby though. I love Cardi B mostly because she started off from like some real regular ghetto shit and she found her way in an industry that does not treat women well and still continues to be a leader of her own career because even in her marriage, she's taking it on like a diva. And I will say, Beyonce done fucked it up for us because if you look at the divas of our mother's era, how many times did Diana Ross get married?
A bazillion.
Now Tina Turner.
The
So,
real marriages or the never mind.
ma'am, so to be clear, our aunties did not have a Beyonce. And what Beyonce has done for all of us, dare I say, isn't real because that is a label. So, and I love Beyonce. None of this is shade to Beyonce. It's just the reality that that's the only diva that we believe we have in this generation.
Yep.
Can't name another one other than Mariah Carey, who is so there are
You know
certain.
what? You know, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't care. Rihanna is my motherfucking girl
So
too.
first of all, Rihanna is completely separate from Beyonce to me, and in my eyes, she is a mogul. She's not just a diva. Beyonce is only a
Yes.
diva. Beyonce is just a diva. There is no depth to it and
I
breadth
have
to
to
it.
agree.
But Rihanna, let me tell you something. Rihanna pumped out how many albums in that contract? In between the albums, it wasn't more than a year between the motherfucking albums. Bitch, I was barely like through the first album, listening to it a couple times before another one was popping up. Like, no, we gonna knock out this contract, bitch. And the last song is gonna be, bitch, better have my money. And I'm gonna leave. And y'all are gonna be begging me for an album. And I'm gonna be like, you better catch this skincare and this lingerie because that's
Pay
what
me
I'm
with
doing. And I'm catching boyfriends that are Toyota owning motherfuckers and cussing them out on vacation for fun. And I don't think Rihanna's ever going to get married because for why at this point? I think it's over for her to get married. And that's the key component of this that I see. Like we black young women, I'm not young, but the black young women group, you know what I'm saying? We've been taught that Beyonce is the standard for all of the years.
I am a black young woman. So I
I ain't
don't know.
young shit. Fuck that. I'm 43. I got a grown child.
We are in the mid. We got a
We got
long
grandkids and
way to
shit.
go.
I got no grandkids. I'm a teenager.
I don't know. I got some little sons. I don't got no grandsons. Some
I
little sons.
You funny. Tony's got
Little
I
sons.
got I got 3 grandchildren at this point. So Tony's got one baby, one grandbaby, and the girlfriend is pregnant with twins now for his son. So now there's 2 more babies coming. So no,
Yeah, I
I'm a
got 3 little
grandma.
babies. 2 little sons and a little daughter.
You
My only
funny.
daughter.
You funny with this whole little daughter. You gonna be a grandma out here in these streets.
Girl, you better shut up. I'm in the middle of my life. I got a whole nother 40 plus years to
You
go.
do.
My grandmama is gonna be 96 next month, and her mama was in her 90s, and my other grandmama was older, and my granddaddy. I'm gonna have a long, happy life. So I am young.
That's
Shoot.
good. I mean, I'm not young in my head, and I don't think I ever have been. So I ain't. But being a grandma is a long term job anyway. You know, our grandmas is grandmas forever, and they've been grandmas for 50 damn years. They just grandmas. But
Girl,
I haven't
when
fully
they
embraced it.
all hit 3, then I'm gonna get them all the time. I ain't kicked in the grandma mode. I'm still
Mm-mm.
a moving mama, and I gotta settle down before I can have them. They gotta all be able to go to the bathroom. When they
Yep,
all could go to the bathroom, and then they could come with me wherever we needs to go. But I got 3 in diapers right now.
that's crazy. Everybody's in diapers.
Like, no way. I can't. I didn't even have 2 of my 3 in diapers at a time. I am not equipped for this. I did it
We marching
strategically.
on City Hall right now. That's what we doing.
Girl, I didn't want to bring it up, but I got that news earlier. Yeah, it was going down. They were on the freeway and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna jump right and tune in and see. I'm so interested in what's going on, and I'm just happy that it just didn't die down. Regardless, it's been a lot of stuff, but for the most part, I'm glad that it's people still marching and people ain't gave up, and
That's good.
that makes me happy.
That's good. Well, we are at 11:49.
Yeah, I'm gonna hate both of y'all in the morning. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
It's
Yeah, I'm gonna
it's
be mad in the morning too, cause I'm finna be up some more after this.
I
But
tell you
it's
who ain't gonna
okay,
hate
cause
us,
it was a
Robin,
good
because she's
talk.
asleep right now. Robin is knocked out with that phone laying somewhere.
Yeah, good.
No, I'm here, but my my kiddo had volleyball practice. He got a game and everything, and he achy breaky, so he been around here like little stiff little stick figure. So
Mm-mm.
trying to get him to he walking around like his body is like on fire or something. Can't don't want
Aw.
That sounds like growing
to.
pains too.
That
Yeah.
too.
Cause he forgetting that on workout days and stuff when they practicing they have weight days, and so the other day was a weight day.
That is too funny.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he need to relax. He probably feeling a lot of aches and stuff, maybe
I
some
bet.
eczema or something. But it was good talking to everybody on this.
For
yeah.
sure. And
Oh
we
yeah,
gonna keep it up. What the self-care Zoom group, several people that are in it have kind of like fallen off. So I think I'm going to prune that group like you do in the fall. You prune your plants back. Um, I'm going to prune the group a bit just to, get us in a place where people that are there that really want to be there. And I actually scheduled these for the next 7. This is this one of them. So 7 Wednesdays. So the next 6 Wednesdays, we will do these like really just debriefing Wednesdays. I don't have a very specific, I don't want to be agenda specific on this day because it started off as self care. But sometimes we have these narratives, these dialogues that deserve to be a podcast. And, um, we hold this space for self care, but we're also holding this space for the self care of the greater stratosphere of people. Um, Eventually, over time, we'll find, I think, structure that'll tighten this up. But in the future, these will be in person. I had started doing these in person at Sherman Phoenix, and it didn't work out for me because of some issues with partnership. And so then we were going to move it to No Studios because I have a membership at No Studios. And so I want to move it back to No Studios. They're actually open, but I have not gone back to in person anything.
And the
And
soda.
so because I haven't gone back to it, I can't ask other people to do it um, if I'm not doing it yet. But I plan to record at No Studios. Now, one more thing that I want to go and do to take this to the next level is to add the podcasting streaming device to make it tighter. I've got a great microphone, for us to do it and have everybody on microphones in one place. I actually may go get like one of those Yeti combos to do a better, like 4 mics in 4 places kind of approach. But I think we're just going to start doing it again at No Studios, and I'm going to have the virtual setup, um, and we can do it. Have you guys been to No Studios before?
Not yet, but I have an event in November that I'm supposed to be
Mm-mm,
in there.
I have not.
They are. There's a floor in the building that's the co-working space that has a bunch
Mm.
of small offices that could record a podcast. People do record their podcast there in that format. Um,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
So once I do the strategy around that, because I'm doing 2, I'm going to do one at AWE, and AWE will have its own podcast eventually, and this one, but I want to keep this one at No Studios so that it has a different home. And I need to get a step and repeat, like some sort of a backdrop, so that we can start recording these and be more intentional with them, and start figuring out, you know, with having that equipment. And so when I decided to invest in my business with the combination of stimulus money and grants, I invested in equipment to be able to produce and create at home, both music. So like my house is set up for music. But I'd like the podcast to be this like, because there's a podcast streaming device, and then there's a bunch of microphones that you can add to it and you're good. So it's not that hard to do. It's not that expensive. We're just going to start doing it. And it's going to be a service of AWE. So some of the stuff we're talking about, as we're talking, I'm writing stuff down because some stuff belongs inside of the AWE stuff. Some stuff belongs inside of Prime Solution stuff. But we're forming it. We're figuring it out together right now. So that being said, I think everybody needs to go night-night. And this may be on the longer side of our podcast. Maybe I'll cut it in half. We'll see what happens. But I think more than anything, I'm grateful for the Wednesday crew. The Wednesday crew has been a pleasant surprise of just unintended, unplanned, I should say, conversations. But I'm starting to see some patterns. That's what I wanted to do first, to see what we talked about the most. Some patterns around things. And I want us to be more intentional going into the next wave of these. So the Wednesdays, 7 Wednesdays of wellness Wednesday time, and Mentor Monday will come eventually. I don't know.
When it opens back up.
Like, but I there when I talked about this the first time I talked about it, there were some. I put a post out on social media, and a bunch of my favorite women in leadership agreed to do it. And I was trying to build the pieces and get it to be something that I wanted it to be. There's all these like professional dimensions, all these things that we have in this community that are around that. But I was hoping to make something virtual and less in-person mandatory before this happened. And now it's time to dig into that and make it a reality. But that's next.
Okay.
Right.
All right, so everybody have a good night, and I will talk to y'all again. If not next Wednesday, feel free to reach out to me any other time.
All right. Talk to y'all.
All right, good night, ladies.
Good night. Bye.